I always said he was brave. Maybe too brave. A strange, high-pitched laughter echoed through the classroom. Everyone turned their heads toward the back row, wearing expressions of pure bewilderment. A boy had his head buried in his arms on the desk, his entire body shaking with excitement as those weird sounds kept leaking out. Chinshu. The teacher on the podium looked like his face had been dipped in ink. His voice was cold, but only that creepy giggling responded to him. Our homeroom teacher, Li Yuan, finally hit his breaking point. He snatched a piece of chalk and flicked it with lethal precision. Zip! Predictably, the chalk missed the target and smacked right into the guy sitting next to Chinshu. Teacher Li, why me? Zhang Dali cried out, looking utterly wronged. He was just sitting there, minding his own business, and he'd become collateral damage. Wake him up, Li Yuan said, his expression unchanged. Dali had no choice. He started shaking his seatmate. Chinshu. Hey, Chinshu. Stop it, Chinshu mumbled, his body still swaying to that lecherous-sounding laugh. Li Yuan's face went from black to purple. He looked like he was about to explode. Dali knew he had to do something drastic to save his friend's life. He leaned in and whispered the only words that mattered. School's over. Let's go. Chinshu bolted upright by sheer instinct. He stood up so fast his chair flew backward and clattered across the floor. The rest of the class couldn't hold it back anymore. Snickers and muffled laughter broke out everywhere. Chinshu stood there, blinking away the sleep, looking completely lost. School's just over, guys, he muttered, rubbing his eyes. Is it really that funny? Can't you be calm like me? He finally cleared his vision, only to see a pair of bloodshot eyes and a dark, furious face occupying his entire field of view. Holy crap, what is that? He shrieked. A second later, reality hit him like a freight train. His body pulled into a stiff salute. Hello, Teacher Li. Having a nice dream? Li Yuan's face was so dark I was worried he might spontaneously combust. No, Chinshu started to shake his head, but then a memory of the dream flashed in his mind, and he actually started laughing again. Li Yuan took a deep breath, forcing his rage down. Beside him, Zhang Dali looked at Chinshu with pure, unadulterated worship. The man was a legend. A suicidal legend, but a legend nonetheless. Chinshu finally realized the gravity of the situation. He choked back his laughter and shut his mouth tight. Why am I sleeping in class? Chinshu thought to himself. I'm a student. Sleeping in math class is perfectly logical and reasonable, isn't it? He wanted to say it out loud, but Li Yuan's expression stopped him. The teacher glared at him, then seemed to remember something. He turned back to the blackboard and pointed at a problem. What's the answer to this? Get it wrong, and you're out of this classroom. Chinshu rubbed his eyes and looked at the board. His mind went completely blank. Beast taming basics. What is the formula for a level 0 contract spirit? Chinshu stared at the words. The three great philosophical questions hit him at once. Who am I? Where am I? And what the hell is this? Wasn't this math class? Wasn't the teacher nicknamed Black Whirlwind Li Kuei because he taught math like a warrior? Li Yuan saw the blank stare. He gripped a piece of chalk so hard it shattered in his hand. His rage meter was hitting the red zone. Chinshu knew he had to say something. Anything. To save the situation. The formula. He stammered. Finally, he took a wild guess based on his old life. Even stays the same, odd changes, and the sign depends on the quadrant. Thwack. Li Yuan slammed his palm onto the desk. What the hell are you talking about? Teacher Li, don't be mad. Give me another shot. Chinshu shouted, trying to de-escalate. Short answer questions are outside my knowledge base. Multiple choice. Multiple choice is my strength. Multiple choice? Is that all you can do? Li Yuan roared so loudly the floor seemed to vibrate. Suddenly, a mechanical ding echoed in Chinshu's head. Beast Tamer selection system activated. Chinshu froze as three options appeared in his vision. Option 1. Admit your mistake and promise never to do it again. Reward. A small amount of beast taming power. Option 2. Spread your hands and say, I wanted to get along with you as a top student, but all I got was distance. I'm coming clean. I'm a loser who knows nothing. Reward. Low-grade flame potion. Option 3. Stay silent and keep your head down. Reward. +1 contract spirit obedience. Chinshu was stunned. but he reacted fast. This was the classic protagonist treatment. He just had to choose to get rewards. He didn't know what a flame potion was, but it sounded better than a small amount of power or a measly +1. He didn't care about the social consequences. He only cared about the loot. Besides, he had a motto: a man should be fearless. He looked at Li Yuan, then scanned the entire room like a high-ranking official inspecting his troops. He just lacked the hands behind his back to complete the look. Then, he spread his arms wide with a look of profound sincerity. I wanted to get along with everyone as a top student. Chen Shu sighed, his voice heavy with fake emotion. But all it brought me was distance. I'm coming clean. I'm a loser. I don't know anything. Silence. Dead, suffocating silence. The air in the classroom seemed to freeze. Every student stared at Chen Shu, their eyes brimming with respect. Who else in the entire grade would dare to spit in the face of the black whirlwind like that? He was standing on the edge of a cliff and jumping off just to see if he could fly. Chen Shu, Li Yuan said, his voice suddenly, terrifyingly calm. My office. Now. As Li Yuan walked out, Chen Shu straightened his shirt. The voice in his head chimed again. Selection successful. Reward: low-grade flame potion. Bonus reward for extreme bravery, +1 contract spirit obedience. Items stored in system space. Chen Shu marched out of the classroom like a soldier heading to the front lines. His classmates watched him in a solemn silence, as if waiting for a hero who might never return. The moment the door closed, the room erupted. What just happened? Did Chen Shu take the wrong meds? He's literally taunting the black whirlwind. Even the geniuses in the elite class wouldn't dare do that. Dolly, you're his roommate. What's his deal? Dolly puffed out his chest, looking proud. My roommate is no ordinary man. I told you he's super brave. Chapter 2. My worldview has collapsed. Get the stretchers ready, boys, someone whispered. Even if we have to carry him out, we're bringing his body home. Everyone looked like they were attending a funeral. If anyone else had done this, we'd assume they'd had a mental breakdown. But with Chen Shu, being weird was his only consistent trait. In the office, Li Yuan sat down and lit a cigarette. Talk. What's going on? Chen Shu looked at him, his face twitching. Teacher Li, I think I might be having some mental health issues lately. That's the 23rd time you've used that excuse, Li Yuan said, his voice dropping an octave. Try another one. I froze. Li Yuan took a long drag of his cigarette, his eyes narrowing as he stared me down. Tell me the truth, Chen Shu. Did you really not know how to solve that problem on the board today? Even though Li Yuan looked like a common thug, he was actually incredibly observant. He had seen the genuine blankness in my eyes earlier. That math problem was the most basic of basics. A primary schooler could have done it with one hand tied behind their back. Teacher, I really didn't know, I said, my voice barely a whisper. I wasn't lying. I had no idea what a beast tamer even was. I had just taken a nap in class, and the entire world had flipped upside down. The familiar subjects I knew were gone, replaced by weird theories about monsters and beasts. To top it off, I now had a bizarre system living in my head. It's Saturday anyway, Li Yuan said, surprising me. Go home and rest for the weekend. He looked like a man with a violent temper, but he was actually a softy at heart. Plus, he was friends with my father. Thank you, Teacher Li. I grabbed the hall pass from his desk and turned to leave. I desperately needed time to process this. My entire worldview had collapsed in the span of a single nap. As I walked away, I felt a sudden burst of energy. I started humming a happy tune, feeling like things might actually work out. Behind me, I heard a colleague whisper to Li Yuan. Is he going to be okay? He looks like he's lost it. Li Yuan watched my retreating back with a strange sense of pride. Looks like he's just got a bad case of being himself. I hopped on a shared bike and pedaled home as fast as I could. The moment I walked through the door, my mother rushed over, her face full of concern. It was obvious Li Yuan had called ahead. Son, are you okay? She asked, checking my face. I'm fine, Mom. Just a little confused, I said. Then, a thought struck me. Wait, is it still 2021? She looked at me like I had grown a second head. What are you talking about? It's the year 980 of the Awakening era. I rubbed my temples. Right. I guess I'm still recovering. I retreated to my room. Even though the world had changed, technology luckily hadn't. The internet was still the best place to figure out what the hell was going on. I opened my laptop and brewed myself a steaming cup of red coffee. I spent hours scrolling through news headlines, and even though I thought I was prepared, I still felt my brain melting. Shocking. Celebrity Beast Tamer caught in scandal. Beast Glory new season starts now. New spatial rift opens in Qingyuan Mountain. Wind attribute monsters spotted. CEO of Feishuan Group breaks through to king-level Beast Tamer. New contract spirit is an SS-grade frost penguin. I moved the mouse with my right hand and massaged my throbbing head with my left. My brain actually hurt. After a few more hours of digging, I finally pieced together the basics of this new reality. The world was dangerous. Random spatial rifts appeared in cities, leaking monsters into our world. There were hundreds of these gates across the country. To fight back, humans had become beast tamers. Every person underwent an awakening ceremony at age 15. If you had the talent, you could sign a contract with a creature from another dimension. These tamers were the ones who guarded the gates and protected humanity, giving them massive social status. "Son, dinner's ready," my mom called out. I stumbled out of my room, clutching my coffee. My mom touched my forehead, looking worried. Just then, my dad, Chen Ping, walked through the door after work. "Son, I heard you were sick," he said, tossing a massive bag of random medicine onto the sofa. "I got these on sale at the pharmacy. Drink up." I looked at the pile of pills and syrups. "Dad, are you serious? You bought these like they were snacks. None of this actually helps me." I paused, thinking back to what I'd read online. "Hey, are you guys beast tamers?" My dad puffed out his chest. "Of course. I work at a beast management unit." He pulled out a small, elegant red gift box. "Actually, the company gave me a bonus today. A bottle of low-grade flame potion." I looked at the red liquid in the bottle, then looked down at my red coffee. "Is that stuff expensive?" "Extremely," he said, tucking it away carefully. "It permanently boosts a spirit's fire attributes. One bottle is worth thousands of dollars. We can't use it, so I'll sell it to help with the bills." He stopped and frowned at my mug. "What are you drinking that's so red?" "Nothing. Just juice." I gulped the coffee down in one go. My heart skipped a beat. The system reward I had received earlier was the same flame potion. I had used a multi-$1,000 potion to brew my afternoon coffee because we were out of hot water. No wonder I felt so warm and energized. "Dad, what happens if a human drinks that stuff?" I asked nervously. "Why would a human drink it? You'd have to be mentally ill to do that," he said, shaking his head. I stayed quiet. Aside from feeling a bit toasty, I felt fine. "So, if you're a beast tamer, where's your contract spirit?" I asked. "Right there," Dad said, pointing to the fish tank on the coffee table. A small red fish was swimming aimlessly inside. I stared at it. I had seen this fish my whole life. Is it powerful? Does it transform into a giant sea monster when you're in danger? Strong? No, Dad sighed. I'm a level 1 beast tamer. That fish just lives a long time. Otherwise, it's just a regular fish. My jaw dropped. Beast tamers were ranked from level 1 to 9, and above that were iron, silver, gold, and king ranks. A level 1 tamer was basically a civilian with a fancy pet. "Don't look at me like that," Dad grumbled. "You're only at the spirit level yourself." "Wait, I'm a beast tamer too?" I asked, stunned. "Obviously," Mom said, walking in with a bowl of rib soup. She reached into a drawer and tossed a plush toy at me. "This is the spirit you contracted when you were 15. I stared at the yellow, squishy blob in my hands. It looked like a generic slime toy. "Does our family have any normal spirits?" "Stop talking and eat," Dad said, slapping the back of my head. Suddenly, a virtual panel flickered into existence before my eyes. Name: Golden Slime. Personality: lazy, kind. Attribute: universal. Species: slime. I stared at the data floating in the air. It was a special attribute panel, showing me everything about the yellow blob in my hands. Name: Golden Slime. Personality: lazy, kind. Attribute: universal. Species: slime. Talent: lethargy, can enter a deep sleep for long periods, increasing defense. Skill: bash, charges forward recklessly. Damage is based on the weight difference between the slime and the target. Note: do not use against enemies weighing more than 10 pounds. Potential grade: F. Contractor. Qinshu, level 0 beast tamer. I felt a wave of sadness wash over me. This talent and these skills were pathetic. I rubbed the slime's head. It felt like a giant piece of firm jelly. To be honest, the texture was actually pretty nice. I knew this panel wasn't just my system's doing. In this world, the rules of reality allowed every beast tamer to see their own spirit's stats. As I stroked it, the slime seemed to feel my affection. Its two large eyes popped open, looking incredibly gentle as it rubbed against my palms. Even though it was called a golden slime, the color was a dull, muddy yellow. From a distance, it looked less like a legendary creature and more like a moving pile of poop. "Dad," I said, looking up, "since I have a contract spirit, why wasn't I put in the beast tamer class at school?" "Didn't you read the panel, son?" Dad asked. "I did, but—" "Look at the potential grade," he sighed. "F grade. It's the lowest there is." My mom placed a piece of rib in my bowl, trying to comfort me. "It's okay, Qinshu. Even in a regular class, you can still be successful." I sighed. Maybe the old Qinshu could have succeeded, but I was in trouble. The college entrance exams for normal students were all about academic knowledge, and a huge chunk of that was specialized theory about beasts. Looking at my textbooks now was like staring at a foreign language. I was going to fail miserably. I couldn't let that happen. I had to get into the beast tamer class. I didn't cross over to this world and wake up a system just to be an ordinary guy. Suddenly, two options flickered in front of my eyes. Option 1. Tell your parents you must join the beast tamer class. Reward: a moderate amount of beast taming power. Option 2. Promise your parents you will get into a top-tier university as a regular student. Reward: $10 million in cash, but your beast taming talent will vanish. My resolve wavered instantly. $10 million? That was a lot of money. "Dad," I said, testing the waters. "If someone offered you $10 million or the chance to be a powerful beast tamer, which would you choose?" Dad looked at me like I was an idiot. "Only kids make choices like that. Adults know that life doesn't work that way. Now eat your soup." "You're very rational," I coughed, turning serious. "Dad, I want to transfer to the beast tamer class." I expected them to explode. I was already halfway through my second year of high school. Switching now was like a literature student suddenly trying to major in advanced physics with only 1 year left. It was academic suicide. Dad suddenly burst out laughing, spraying a bit of soup. I stared at him, annoyed. I guess I knew where I got my personality from. "Can you be serious?" I snapped. "This is my future." "Son, stop joking and eat," Dad chuckled. I rubbed my temples. "I'm not joking. I want to be a beast tamer. Being an ordinary person isn't enough for me." I had literally just turned down $10 million for this. I was destined to be the king of beast tamers. Dad stopped laughing. He saw the look in my eyes. "You really want this?" "Yes." "Okay," Dad said simply. "Then we'll do it." I blinked, stunned. "That's it? That easy?" "Old Shun, what are you doing?" Mom interjected. "Aren't you two being a bit reckless?" "If my son has a dream, I'm going to support him," Dad said firmly. Mom looked at him, seemed to remember something, and didn't argue further. I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I hadn't expected it to be this smooth. A thought struck me. Was I secretly a rich second-generation kid? Was this all a test before I inherited a billion-dollar empire? "Dad, tell me the truth. Are we secretly rich?" I asked hopefully. Dad gave me a look of pure disdain. "I used to ask your grandfather that same question. Forget it. I'll go to your school on Monday and talk to your teacher. Now eat before it gets cold." I spent the entire weekend locked in my room, cultivating my new power. By Monday morning, we were at Nanjiang No. 2 High School. "You want Qinshu to transfer to the beast tamer class." Li Yuan, my homeroom teacher, frowned. He was a big man, nicknamed the Black Whirlwind. "Old Shun, we've been friends a long time, but this is a mistake. He'll be ruined. 1 year isn't enough time to catch up." "You don't need to worry about that, Li," Dad said. "He has a spirit and the talent. He meets the requirements." Li Yuan shook his head, lighting a cigarette. "It's not just about requirements. To get into a good university, his level has to be high enough. With a normal talent rating, he'll reach level 2 at most in a year. He won't even qualify for a bottom-tier college." "Teacher Li, if I could interrupt," I said, stepping forward. "I'm already at level 1. Both men froze. I focused my mind, and the golden slime materialized in my hands. Most tamers kept their spirits in a special pocket dimension, but I'd been keeping mine at home like a pet. They felt the energy radiating from the slime. It was definitely a level 1 contract spirit. When a tamer levels up, their spirit grows stronger too. Because I had completed the first system option, the reward had pushed me straight to level 1. Is there a problem now? Dad asked, looking just as surprised as the teacher. He clearly hadn't known I'd leveled up already. Li Yuan sighed, defeated. Fine. Since you're both so stubborn, I'll talk to the school. As we left the office, Dad was beaming. Li Yuan reached for his lighter to finish his cigarette, then stopped. Wait, where's my lighter? That old rogue Chen took it again. I walked back to my regular classroom to grab my things. My classmates swarmed me, asking how I was doing after my accident. When they realized I was perfectly fine, they looked genuinely disappointed. Darn, Zhang Dali sighed. I was really hoping for a funeral feast. I already picked out which table I wanted to sit at. Drop dead, Dali. I laughed, heading to my desk. Did the Black Whirlwind give you a hard time? Someone asked. Oh, definitely, I said, putting on a dramatic face. Teacher Li kept begging me to join the Beast Tamer class. I told him I just wanted to be an ordinary guy, that I had no interest in being powerful, but he wouldn't stop pestering me until I agreed. Get lost, the whole class shouted in unison. They all turned back to their seats, ignoring my bragging. I just grinned. I felt like a phoenix among crows, even if the crows were currently rolling their eyes at me. My classmates were used to my personality by now. Someone once joked that I should change my name to Chin Pai, a name for someone thick-skinned and troublesome. I just took it as a compliment. The school bell rang, sharp and clear. Everyone scrambled to their seats, pulling out textbooks and sitting up straight, waiting for the teacher to arrive. But it wasn't the Black Whirlwind, Li Yuan, who walked through the door. Instead, it was a refined, scholarly-looking man. Is Chin Shu here? He asked, scanning the room. Come out for a moment. I stood up slowly, letting out a few loud, dramatic coughs just to make sure everyone noticed me. I took my sweet time strolling to the door. That's a teacher from the Beast Tamer track, someone whispered behind me. Is Chun Pai actually transferring? It looks real. He always had the talent for it, but his contract spirit was so bad he gave up. I guess he's back. Finally, another voice sighed. The neighborhood menace is leaving. Our class might actually be peaceful for once. The atmosphere in the room suddenly felt a lot lighter, almost celebratory. I ignored them and stepped into the hallway. Oh, it's you, the teacher said, recognizing me. Feeling better? It was Fong Ku, the head teacher for Beast Tamer Class 5. I'd run into him the previous Saturday while I was wandering around. I'm better, I said, pausing for effect. But also, not entirely better. Fong Ku looked at me, speechless. He clearly didn't have time for my riddles. Teacher Li told me to notify you. Pack your things this afternoon and report directly to Class 5. Wait, teacher, why Class 5? I asked. What about the head teacher for Class 1? Fong Ku finally snapped. Are you dreaming? Class 1 is for the elite students. Every single one of them has a contract spirit that's at least D rank. You think you can just walk in there? Unlike the regular classes, the Beast Tamer track was brutally competitive. There were 5 classes in total, ranked by grades and strength. The goal was to force students to fight for their spot and push their limits. For someone like me to aim for Class 1 right off the bat was total nonsense. Getting into Class 5 was already a stretch. I sighed. Fine, Class 5 it is. It didn't matter. My strength was going to grow sooner or later anyway. One system choice had already made me a level 1 tamer. A few more of those, and I'd be flying. By the afternoon, I had all my belongings packed. I stood outside the door of Class 5, waiting for my cue. Everyone, listen up, Fong Ku said, his glasses glinting in the light. We have a new student joining us from the ordinary track today. This is Chen Shu. Please welcome him. He motioned for me to enter. I walked in with my hands behind my back, nodding to the students like a high-ranking official inspecting a factory. Hello, everyone. I am Chen Shu, formerly of Ordinary Class 3, I announced. I am in excellent health, exceptionally handsome, and possess 0 bad habits. I am a master of both the arts and sciences. Some call me the untainted handsome youth. Others call me the honest and reliable young master. If you don't mind, you can just call me Brother Chun, or even Uncle Chun. The classroom went silent. You could have heard a pin drop. They looked at me like I was some kind of alien life form. Okay, that's enough, Fangka muttered, his face twitching. He looked like he was breaking out in a cold sweat. I could see the thought running through his mind. What kind of monster did I just let into my class? Teacher, I haven't finished my introduction yet. Chinshu, your seat is in the back, Fangka pointed, his voice rising dangerously. Go. Now. I walked to the back, feeling a bit disappointed. I had prepared a 1,000-word self-introduction filled with glorious adjectives, and I hadn't even gotten through the first paragraph. As I sat down, a few students glanced my way. I gave them a friendly, approachable smile, but they quickly looked away. Beast Tamer classes were usually capped at 24 students. With me there, Class 5 was now the only irregular class in the grade. Let's begin, Fangka said, his face turning serious again. Chinshu, since you're new, I expect you to catch up quickly. Pull out your workbooks. 3 years of taming, 5 years of success. We're doing a practice test today. Treat this like a monthly exam. I looked at the title of the workbook and groaned. The name alone felt heavy, like it was trying to crush my spirit. The test was comprehensive, covering history, geography, biology, and materials. But this wasn't the history I knew. It was the history of the 900 years since the resurgence, the wars, the reforms, and the shifting power of the world. Geography focused on the locations of interdimensional gates. Biology was all about the habits and weaknesses of monsters. Materials covered the rare resources found inside the dimensions. It was basic high school knowledge, but to me, it was like reading a foreign language. By the time the final bell rang, I had spent the entire afternoon scribbling furiously. I managed to finish the multiple-choice section. If I was lucky, my score might actually reach double digits. All right, hand in your papers, Fangka called out. You're dismissed. Unlike regular students, we didn't have evening study sessions. Instead, that time was reserved for cultivation. To get stronger, we had to absorb the spiritual energy that had returned to the world nearly a millennium ago. Rich kids used expensive potions and high-energy environments to speed up the process, but for the rest of us, it was just hard work. I was packing my bag to head home when a voice stopped me. Chinshu, stay right there. I turned around. A guy in a black t-shirt was standing there, arms crossed, looking at me with narrowed eyes. Let me introduce myself. I'm Wang Meng, he said, walking toward me. A few other guys followed him, rolling up their sleeves. The tension in the room spiked instantly. Here we go, I thought. School bullying on the very first day. I started calculating my exit strategy. Should I scream for help and bolt, or just start running now? Wang Meng leaned in close, his face hard. This is Class 5. I don't want you being a troublemaker and distracting everyone from their studies. If you mess with our learning environment, don't blame me for being ruthless. Understood. I blinked. I was completely stunned. Wait. Distracting you from your studies? Was he serious? Was the moral compass of the Beast Tamer track really this high? They weren't trying to shake me down for lunch money. They were worried about their grades. Did you hear me? Wang Ming growled, frowning at my silence. Understood, I said, nodding frantically. Perfectly understood. Good. Wang Ming's expression softened, and he looked almost relieved to stop acting tough. I'm the class monitor. If anyone from the other classes tries to pick on you, let me know. I watched him walk away, shaking my head. I thought I was walking into a fight, but it was just a stern warning from a group of overachievers. I grabbed my bag and headed for the door. It was time to go home and see just how fast I could actually cultivate. At night, training was entirely up to us. The school didn't force anyone to stay, but every student stayed glued to their meditation mats anyway. In this world, your grades in history or math could be trash, but your Beast Tamer level couldn't be. That was the only metric that mattered for the college entrance exams. Families spent tens of thousands on tuition alone, not counting the extra costs for potions and gear. For kids from normal families like mine, we had to grind just to pay back our parents' sacrifices. For the rich kids, they worked even harder to make sure they stayed on top of the food chain. Chinshu, wobbled home on a shared rental bike. I shoveled a few bites of dinner into my mouth and sprinted to my room, desperate to start cultivating. The methods for gathering beast power were common knowledge, But whether you actually had the talent was a different story. This kid, my mother muttered, shaking her head at my sudden burst of energy. I sat on my bed and cleared my mind. I tried to sense the spiritual energy of the world, just like the textbooks said. 2 hours passed. I was still sitting there, sweating, whispering like a crazy person. Come on, spiritual energy. Come to me, please. Finally, I gave up and collapsed onto my back. This was way too hard. I sighed, staring at the ceiling. No wonder high-level beast tamers had such high social status. Not everyone had the patience or the raw talent for this. Since I clearly lacked the talent, I had to rely on my system. A few simple choices had already turned me into a level 1 beast tamer, saving me 6 months of grueling work. I had tasted the shortcut, and I didn't want to take the long way anymore. Mom. I'm going out, I shouted. For what? She asked. To do some multiple choice questions. I didn't bother explaining her confused look and bolted out the door. I knew that using basic beast tamer potions could speed up cultivation significantly. I decided to head to the city center to see if I could get lucky. The heart of Nanjiang City was glowing with neon lights and packed with people. It looked exactly like the bustling cities from my previous life. I walked into a massive department store called Beast Tamer General. The shelves were lined with glowing vials. Low-grade frost potion increases ice attributes, $5,000. Low-grade flame potion. Low-grade strength potion. The prices were insane. Hello, sir. Can I help you find something? A sales clerk asked, approaching me. Even though I was only level 1, I was still a customer with potential. Just as I was about to speak, 3 options floated in front of my eyes. Option 1. Tell her I have no money and I'm just here to look. Reward. My slime's weight increases by 1%. Option 2. Act like a big shot and say I'll take everything. Reward. 2 bottles of low-grade strength potion. Note, this carries a high level of risk. Option 3. Ask her how I can learn to make these potions myself. Reward. My slime's defense increases by 1%. I couldn't believe even shopping triggered the system. Option 2 was tempting. That was $10,000 worth of potions, but the high risk warning scared me off. I wasn't ready to get beaten up for being a fraud. I went with option 3. I want to ask, how can I learn to make these myself? I asked with a straight face. I was serious. These potions were worth a fortune, and this was just the low-grade stuff. If I could master alchemy, I'd be walking on a path paved with gold. The clerk stared at me for a second, rolled her eyes, and walked away without a word. Hey, I muttered. I couldn't believe I just got ghosted. Was my question really that stupid? I wandered around the mall for a bit, filed a formal complaint against the clerk just to be petty, and left. At least my slime got a tiny defense boost. I needed to go home and research alchemy on the internet. I was pedaling my bike back home when I heard a woman's voice screaming from a dark alley. Help! Someone help me! I stopped and looked. Under a flickering street lamp, 2 men with jagged fruit knives were cornering a woman. It was a mugging. Immediately, the system popped up again. Option 1. Ignore it and leave quickly. Reward. A small amount of beast power. Option 2. Charge in like a hero and take them down. Reward. A large amount of beast power. Note. Life-threatening danger. Option 3. Intervene and stop the crime. Reward. Skill book. Gigantification. My brain worked at light speed. Option 2 was a death sentence. I was a level 1 weakling. But option 3 didn't say I had to fight. It just said stop the crime. I took a deep breath. I gripped my handlebars with my right hand and pointed my left hand dramatically toward the alley. Stop right there, I warned. How dare you commit such a crime in broad daylight? Well, under the moon. I, Zhang Dali, will never forgive you. For a split second, I looked like a holy messenger of justice standing under the street lamp. The 2 muggers froze, staring at me in shock. Then, in the very next second, I grabbed my handlebars with both hands and pedaled like a madman, my legs turning into a blur. I vanished into the darkness before they could even blink. As I sped away, I started singing at the top of my lungs. When you see injustice, give a mighty roar. And after you roar, keep running for the door. That guy is freaking insane, one of the muggers muttered. They were so stunned by my bizarre behavior that they lost their grip on the situation. The woman seized the moment, shoved them aside, and ran toward the main road while dialing the police. Boss, do we chase her? Chase what? She's calling the cops. Let's get out of here. What is wrong with people tonight? I hummed my song all the way home. The third option had been a total steal. I didn't have to win. I just had to interfere. And my shout definitely interfered. A golden skill book appeared in my hand. I couldn't read it, but the system asked if I wanted to use it. The book vanished, and a new skill appeared on my golden slime's profile, gigantification. It allowed the slime to double its size temporarily, though it sacrificed some speed. Hey, little yellow, I said, poking the squishy gold blob. When are you going to grow into a 1,000-pound monster? Right now, a level 1 slime's combat power was basically 0. Doubling its size just meant it was a slightly larger target. The next morning, I walked into class with massive dark circles under my eyes. I had stayed up all night researching alchemy. I finally had a lead. I realized that becoming an alchemist wasn't just a hobby, it was a high-status profession. To even get started, you needed a degree in alchemy from a top-tier university. No wonder that waiter at the store looked at me like I was trash. My dream of getting rich quick through brewing seemed dead on arrival. I was about to put my head down and sleep through class when my homeroom teacher, Fong Ku, appeared at the door. Chinshu, my office. Now. I snapped awake. My heart hammered against my ribs as I followed him. Once we were inside, his usually friendly face turned stone cold. He looked even more intimidating than a raid boss. He grabbed a stack of papers and hurled them onto the desk. These are your results from yesterday, he growled. I fumbled, missing the papers as they slid toward the edge of the desk. I glanced down at the score and felt a wave of relief. Teacher, I admit I've been a bit distracted lately, I said, putting on my best good student face. I only got a 91. I promise to work harder next time. Fongka's face turned purple. That's a 16, you idiot. I leaned over and picked up the paper. I had been looking at it upside down. It was indeed a 16. Care to explain? Fongka leaned in, his voice low and dangerous. Have you spent the last 2 years of high school playing in the mud? A 16 was a new low, even for me. I was dead last. The person in second to last place had scored over 60. The gap was embarrassing. As I stood there like a statue, the system options flickered in my vision again. Option 1. Admit fault and promise to do better. Reward. Double cultivation speed for 3 days. Option 2. Solemnly tell Fong Ku that there is no mud at school. Reward. Master the recipe for strength potion and unlock basic alchemy. Option 3. Request a retake to prove my consistency. Reward. A medium amount of beast tamer power. Option 1 was useless. I had 0 cultivation talent, so doubling 0 was still 0. Option 3 was tempting because it would push me to the peak of level 1, but option 2 was the game changer. It was exactly what I needed to bypass the university requirement. I looked Fongka straight in the eye, my expression dead serious. Teacher, there is no mud at school. Fongka froze. It took him a second to process the sheer audacity of my answer. Get out, he screamed. Go back to class and copy the school rules 10 times. I practically floated out of the office. I didn't care about the punishment. My mind was buzzing with the sudden knowledge of how to brew strength potions. I had actually unlocked alchemy. I was going to be rich. I walked down the hallway, grinning like a madman. Suddenly, someone slammed into me. I stumbled back and saw Wang Ming, our class monitor. His face was a mess of bruises and swelling. Someone had beaten him senseless. Monitor? What happened? I felt a surge of loyalty. Who touched my classmate? I didn't hesitate. I summoned Little Yellow. The golden slime appeared with a wet squelch, looking like a shiny, 3-decimeter pile of poop. It tried to look menacing, but let's be real, it had 0 combat power. Chinshu, stop. Wang Ming hissed, looking panicked. The law says you can't summon battle beasts in the halls. Put it away. I don't care about the law. Who did this to you? I shouted, though I quickly recalled the slime anyway. A student in a white t-shirt with bright green hair stepped out from the neighboring classroom, Class 3. He had a smug, punchable face. I did it, green hair sneered. He lost the bet. That's the rule in the Beast Tamer track. Winners take all. He looked at Wang Ming with pure contempt. Your low-grade beast pearl for this month belongs to me now. And tell your teacher that Class 5 is nothing but trash. Wang Ming clenched his fists, his body trembling with frustration, but he pulled me away. It's their territory. Let's just go. Back in our classroom, the other guys crowded around Wang Ming, asking if he was okay. It turned out this was a monthly thing. The top students got beast pearls from the school to boost their power, and the other classes always bullied Class 5 into betting theirs. Useless, a cold voice rang out. It was Xia Bing, our study rep. She was a petite girl with a ponytail and a white dress, looking innocent enough until she spoke. You've lost 3 months in a row. She didn't wait for a response before walking out. Who is she? I asked. That's Xia Bing, Wang Ming sighed. She's right. My losing makes our whole class look bad. Suddenly, a student burst into the room, shouting, huge news. Xia Bing just challenged everyone in Class 3. She's taking them all on after school today. The room went silent. Class 3 had 24 students, and even their weakest was level 3. She's doing this for me, Wang Ming whispered, looking guilty. She's trying to win back the respect I lost. Can she win? I asked, looking at her empty seat. She seemed so small. She used to be in Class 1, someone explained. She's powerful, but Class 3 won't play fair. Then we go too, I said, feeling the excitement build. We'll cheer her on, and if they try to jump her, we jump in. The whole class rallied. This wasn't just a fight, it was a war between classes. Even the teachers knew, but nobody stopped it. In the beast tamer world, if you weren't fighting, you weren't growing. The bell rang, and Xia Bing walked back in, looking as calm as ever. Fangke followed her, carrying 3 glowing white orbs. These were the low-grade beast pearls. They were worth over 10,000 yuan each and were nearly impossible to buy on the open market. He handed them to the top 3 students, Xia Bing, Wang Ming, and Li Zixuan. Xia Bing, Fangke said softly as he handed her the pearl. Be careful this afternoon. Teacher Fang already knew about the challenge. He looked at Xia Bing and nodded. It's okay. The whole class will be there to support you, he said. Chen Shu, one of my classmates, chimed in immediately. That's right. We've got your back. Teacher Fang turned to me. Chen Pai, you don't need to go? It might get dangerous. Stay here and focus on your cultural studies. I bristled. Teacher, I'm the protagonist of this story. How can there be a battle without me? The day dragged on. I tried to study, I really did. The college entrance exams weren't just about fighting. There was a written portion too. But I had zero foundation. The second I opened those textbooks, my eyes glazed over. Within minutes, I was fast asleep on my desk. Asterisk ding. 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 Asterisk the final bell snapped me awake. I didn't even need to think. My body just reacted. School was out. The atmosphere in the room shifted instantly. Xia Bing grabbed her blue backpack and walked out without a word. We all fell in line behind her, heading straight for the school's combat arena. When we arrived, the place was packed. It wasn't just our class and Class 3. Students from the other 3 classes had gathered to watch the drama. Nearly 100 people were squeezed around the central platform where the familiars fought. Zheng Yi, the Class 3 monitor, stood in the center with his arms crossed. He had a smug, nasty grin on his face. Xia Bing, I knew you were strong, but I didn't think you were this stupid. Challenging our entire class. Did you bring the 3 beast pearls? 3 pearls. That was 30,000 yuan. A massive gamble. Even the rich kids didn't throw money around like that. Let's talk, Xia Bing said coldly. She summoned her familiar. A massive blue ice wolf appeared with a low growl. It was 2 meters long, and frost radiated from its fur, chilling the air around the platform. A level 5 beast tamer, someone screamed from the crowd. The room erupted in whispers. Level 5 was elite status, easily top 10 in the whole grade. Zheng Yi's face paled. As his class monitor, even he was only level 4. Don't panic, Zheng Yi shouted to his classmates. There are 24 of us. We'll wear her down by numbers alone. He summoned his own familiar, a skeleton soldier holding an ancient, rusted blade. Its eyes flickered with eerie green flames. In this world, Beast Tamer was just a title. Our familiars could be anything from demons to undead. My little Yahello, a slime, was considered a special type. I stood on the sidelines, looking down at the golden slime in my hands. I gave it a firm squeeze. Little Yahello wobbled happily, its big head shaking back and forth. The battle exploded. Xia Bing was hyper-focused, commanding her ice wolf with precision. Familiars aren't naturally geniuses. Their fighting style is usually primal and messy. To truly unlock their potential, a tamer has to control their every move, especially when managing multiple skills. The ice wolf was a blur of motion. Its claws were razor-sharp, and it released a freezing aura that slowed down any enemy that got too close. It was a powerful area of effect skill. Within seconds, several Class 3 familiars were sent flying off the stage. Everyone, attack at once! Zheng Yi roared. As the chaos reached a fever pitch, my vision blurred. The choice system was back. Option 1. Shout words of encouragement from the sidelines. Reward: Little Yellow's obedience +1. Option 2. Wave your hands and scream, "Stop fighting. Please stop fighting." Reward: 1 bag of basic familiar food. Option 3. Sneak up and ambush Zheng Yi. Give him a brutal beating. Reward: a massive amount of beast-taming power. I didn't even have to think about it. While everyone was glued to the flashy wolf and skeleton fight, I slipped away. I circled around the crowd like a ghost until I was standing right behind the Class 3 section. Zheng Yi was sweating, his eyes locked on his skeleton soldier as it struggled against the ice wolf. He was completely vulnerable. I reached out, clamped a hand over his mouth, and yanked him backward. I'm a big guy, and I moved fast. I dragged him out of the crowd and into the nearby restrooms before anyone even realized their leader was missing. I grinned, feeling a bit like a villain. I reached into my back pocket and pulled out a heavy-duty nylon fertilizer bag. I threw it over his head. Zheng Yi thrashed around, his vision blocked by the dark bag. He tried to summon his skeleton back to protect him, but the ice wolf had it pinned. Thud! Whack! Bam! I went to town on him. Zheng Yi was furious, but mostly he was confused. He'd lived 17 years and had never seen a beast tamer who actually fought with his own fists. It was unheard of. It was insane. Back on the stage, the skeleton soldier lost its connection to its master. Its movements became sluggish and weak. The ice wolf made short work of it. With their leader's familiar defeated, the rest of Class 3 lost their nerve. Damn, that wolf is too strong. Where did Zheng Yi go? Why isn't he commanding us? I'm done. I want to surrender. The Class 3 students started looking around, realizing their monitor had vanished mid-fight. Suddenly, a figure stumbled out of the restroom. He was weaving back and forth, a fertilizer bag still stuck on his head. What the hell is that? Someone asked, backing away. Is that a new kind of familiar? It's me, Zheng Yi yelled, ripping the bag off. His face was a mess of purple and blue bruises. Zheng, what happened? His classmates rushed over, trying, and failing, to hide their laughter. They couldn't believe someone had actually bagged their monitor during a match. It was someone from Class 5. Zheng Yi hissed, his eyes burning with rage. His face looked even worse than Wang Meng's did earlier. I had already slipped back into my spot among my classmates. I stepped forward, looking as righteous as a saint. That's a lie. My Class 5 is full of honorable people. We would never stoop to such cowardly tactics. But don't worry, I will personally investigate this. On my name, Shinpai, I will get you the answers you deserve. My classmates stared at me deadpan. They knew exactly what I'd done. Shinpai, Wang Ming whispered, leaning in. Where did you go just now? Just taking out the trash? I muttered back. He grinned. He felt a lot better seeing Zheng Yi's swollen face. Xiaobing didn't care about the drama. She looked at the bruised Zheng Yi, her ice wolf standing tall behind her. You lost. Hand over the pearls. Zheng Yi ground his teeth, but he had no choice. He handed over the 3 beast pearls. As we walked away, I felt him staring at my back. He knew the person who grabbed him was tall and strong. He was already scanning our lines, looking for a match. But for now, the victory was ours. Zheng Yi scanned the crowd, his eyes landing on me. I didn't flinch. I put on my best serious face and stepped forward. Don't panic, classmate, I said, my voice heavy with fake concern. You can always trust your Uncle Chen. I promise you, I'll find whoever did this. I stood there like a pillar of justice until the crowd finally dispersed. The fight was over, and while Xia Bing's strength was the talk of the school, the real hot topic was the mystery attacker. Everyone was whispering about how dirty the move was, bagging the class monitor and dragging him into a bathroom for a beatdown. Zhang, he looked like he wanted to crawl into a hole. He stood there with his fists clenched, his head probably still ringing from the impact. Find out who did it, he hissed to his remaining lackeys before recalling his skeleton soldier. I, on the other hand, was feeling great. The system rewards from the fight had pushed my beast tamer level up to level 2. My golden slime, Little Yellow, hadn't learned a new skill yet, but its base stats had jumped significantly. I knew that once I hit level 3, my little slime would actually be able to hold its own in a real fight. I was pedaling my shared bike toward the school gates when a cold breeze brushed past me. Xiaobing had caught up. She reached into her pocket and tossed something at me. It was a beast pearl. Take it, she said. If you hadn't stepped in, I wouldn't have one so easily. I scratched my head, playing dumb. Stepped in? What are you talking about? She gave me a knowing look. I saw the bag in your backpack earlier. I let out a sigh and shrugged. Fine, you caught me. It was me. I tucked the pearl away without a hint of shame. Why would you risk it? She asked, her voice softening slightly. Beast tamer fights are dangerous. You have to protect yourself first. I grinned and hopped back on my bike. What can I say? Your Uncle Chun loves a good ambush. I didn't wait for her response. I just pedaled away into the sunset. When I got home, I ignored my sore muscles and pulled up the system interface. A new feature had unlocked. Basic alchemy. A glowing tree appeared in my vision. The branches represented different potions: strength, fire, ice, gigantification. Right now, only the strength potion was lit up. The others were grayed out, waiting for me to unlock them. I tapped the icon for the strength potion. It could permanently increase a familiar's power. My proficiency was already at master level, which meant I could craft it using 30% fewer materials than a normal alchemist. The system even noted that every successful craft would increase my rank from novice all the way to grandmaster. This was a goldmine. In this world, alchemy couldn't be automated. Every single bottle had to be handcrafted by a professional, which is why the prices were astronomical. But I had a cheat code. As long as I had the ingredients, the system handled the rest with 100% success. Strength flowers, I muttered, reading the recipe. Most of the ingredients were common, but the main one, the strength flower, only grew in spatial rifts. You needed a license to buy them at the big stores in the city center. I didn't have one, so I needed the black market. I pulled out my phone and messaged Zhang Dali. His profile picture was a lone wolf on a prairie, and his username was Lonely Wolf. Dali, it's me. You know where the black market is. He replied instantly. P-Man, why the sudden interest? Man, I heard you trashed the Class 3 monitor today. Epic. I'll tell you the details later. I typed back. I need to see the black market. Perfect. I'm skipping evening self-study anyway. Let's go together. By the way, can you lend me some cash? I went silent. Hello? Bro, don't play dead as soon as I mention money, he messaged. We're the same age, I finally replied. If you don't have money, why would I? Dolly didn't stay mad for long. He lived in my neighborhood, and 10 minutes later, he was knocking on my door. We grabbed our bikes and headed toward the outskirts of the city. The black market is a mess of all kinds of people, Dolly warned as we rode. His parents were iron-ranked beast tamers, so he'd been there a few times, even though he had no talent himself. Just remember, don't be high profile. Even a strong dragon can't crush a local snake. I nodded, feeling confident. But when we reached the entrance, my heart sank. A guard blocked the path, his arms crossed over a bulky chest. No entry without a level 5 beast tamer escort, he barked. Come on, big brother, Dolly said, trying to act smooth. We're people of status. The guard looked him up and down. Aside from your ID card, what kind of status do you have? He was a beast tamer too, and he could clearly sense our weak auras. I was barely level 2, and Dolly was a civilian. Dolly cleared his throat, standing tall. I am Zhang Dali, from Najong 2nd High, Class 3. I was once the class representative for materials. Get lost, the guard snapped. Okay, bye. Dolly turned around instantly, grabbing my arm. Chinpai, let's go. I'll ask my dad to bring us next time. I didn't move. 3 glowing options had appeared in my vision. Option 1. Use the golden slime to force my way in. Reward, +1 beast tamer level. Option 2. Leave quietly and wait for another chance. Reward, slime strength doubles for 3 days. Option 3. Lean in and whisper a secret phrase to the guard. Reward, +1 level to the gigantification skill. The phrase was a classic insult. I'm your daddy. I took a deep breath. Dolly, I whispered. Do you know the terrain around here? A little. Why? Get ready to run, I said, my eyes locked on the guard. And whatever you do, don't look back. I walked right up to the guard. He looked down at me, his expression cold and impatient. Big brother, I said, my voice dropping to a low, conspiratorial whisper. I know the secret code. Can I go in now? Huh? What are you talking about? The guard leaned in, confused. I moved closer until I was right next to his ear. I took a breath and whispered the words, I'm your daddy. The next second, I didn't wait for a reaction. I spun on my heel and sprinted. Run, Dolly, I yelled. We bolted down the street like our lives depended on it. The guard stood there frozen for a few seconds, processing the insult, before he realized he'd been played. He started to give chase, but we were already gone. My lungs burned, but I felt a surge of adrenaline. It was a reckless move, but the system didn't lie. A notification flashed in my mind. The golden slime's gigantification skill had leveled up. It could now quadruple its size, though it would lose some speed. We didn't stop until we were blocks away, panting for air. Chinpai, what the hell did you say to him? Dolly wheezed, clutching his knees. Just a little password, I managed to say between gasps. Honestly, the thrill of being that petty was almost as good as the reward. But we still hadn't gotten inside. I looked up and realized we were standing in front of a small restaurant called Pulling Big Noodles. Dolly squinted at the sign. The name sounds a bit gross, like he's pulling something else. Maybe it's a local specialty, I said. I was starving and didn't care about the branding. I haven't had dinner yet. We walked inside. The place was empty. The owner, a man with an overly eager smile, rushed toward us. Welcome. 2 bowls of noodles? You want the large size? Large, Dolly said. Definitely large. Coming right up. I'll pull them out immediately, the owner chirped. Make sure you eat them while they're hot. Dolly and I exchanged a look. The phrasing in this place was terrible. It felt like a fever dream. The owner seemed desperate. He told us he hadn't had a single customer all week, even though the black market was supposed to be a high-traffic area. You want some cola with that? The owner asked. It's 2 yuan extra. Forget it, I said, my eyes catching something outside the window. A girl with a high ponytail was walking past. She was beautiful, with clear eyes and fair skin, the kind of girl every guy in school had a crush on. Dolly, forget the noodles. Follow me. I know how we're getting in. We ditched the restaurant, ignoring the owner's confused cries about his hot noodles, and ran out to the street. Sister Xiaoyu. Hey, Sister Xiaoyu. I shouted. The girl stopped and turned. It was Su Xiaoyu, the top student in our grade. Her grades were perfect, and her talent was even better. She had an A-rank contracted spirit and was already being scouted by the top universities in the country. She was in a different league than us. Who are you two? She asked, looking puzzled. We're your classmates, Dolly said, stepping forward with his chest out. I'm Zhang Dolly, and this is Chinpai. You've probably heard of my legendary stories. She blinked, clearly having never heard of him. Beside her stood a handsome guy who stepped forward to block our path. He looked friendly enough, but his eyes were full of arrogance. Xiaoyu, do you know these two? He asked. We're classmates, Dolly snapped, sensing the guy's attitude. Who are you supposed to be? The guy raised an eyebrow. You don't recognize me? Are you the president of the country? Why should everyone know you? Dolly retorted. The guy's face went cold. Nobody talked to him like that. Before things could get ugly, Xiaoyu stepped in. This is Wang Teng. He's the top student from the 3rd high school. Oh, Wang Teng, Dolly shouted, looking amazed. Wang Teng's smirk returned. He puffed out his chest, waiting for the praise. Never heard of him, Dolly finished flatly. He turned to me. Chinpai, you know him? No, I said, looking Wang Teng up and down. But he looks like he's got a great, earthly vibe. Very grounded. Wang Teng glared at me. He didn't understand the joke, but he knew he was being mocked. What do you want? Xiaoyu asked, cutting through the tension. We wanted to check out the black market, but we can't get past the guards, Dolly admitted, giving her his best puppy dog eyes. Xiaoyu sighed. I was heading in anyway. You can come with me. Wang Teng frowned. If you're busy with them, I'll head out. Xiaoyu, Think about my offer for the citywide tournament. I want you on my team. He gave us one last look of disgust and walked away. What offer? Dolly asked immediately. He's scouting for the senior tournament, Xiaoyu said simply. She didn't elaborate. To her, we were just regular students who would never qualify for something that big. Let's go. She led us to a different entrance. As a level 7 beast tamer, she had her own pass and didn't need an escort. Once we were inside the gates, she turned to us. I have my own things to do. You guys can look around on your own. Try not to get into trouble. Thanks, Sister Xiaoyu. I said. If you ever need anything, come find us in Class 5. She nodded and disappeared into the crowd. Dolly and I stood there, wide-eyed. The black market wasn't some dark alleyway. It was a massive, bustling district of 7 intersecting streets. It was more crowded than the city center. The air was filled with the sounds of vendors screaming their lungs out. Earth Dragon King Beast Cores. From the only disaster-level dimension. Don't miss out. High-level beast tamer forced to sell a divine beast egg. One bite, and your spirit hits gold rank. Spend 50,000 yuan and get my golden autograph for free. It was a chaotic mix of legendary treasures and total scams. Most of these people were snake oil salesmen, but in a place like this, hidden gems did exist. Dolly was hooked. He stopped at a stall and pointed to a dusty, yellow orb. Hey, uncle, how much for this Earth Dragon King core? The vendor looked at Dolly and smiled like a predator. Young man, you have a sharp eye? I can see you're a natural-born hero. For you, a special price, 10,000 yuan. Can you go lower? Dolly asked. How much are you offering? 10 yuan, Dolly said. I braced myself for the vendor to start screaming at us, but instead, the man didn't even blink. He grabbed the money instantly. Deal. Dolly handed over a 10 yuan bill and tucked the legendary orb into his pocket, looking incredibly proud of himself. I just shook my head. We were finally in, and the real search was just beginning. The vendor looked heartbroken as he took the 10 yuan, but the moment we turned away, he reached into a crate and pulled out another Earth Dragon King core. He had a whole box of them. Dolly, you really have too much money to burn, I said, shaking my head. You actually bought that piece of junk? Dolly looked at me like I was the crazy one. I'm not stupid, Chinshu. This kind of soil doesn't exist on Earth. It's definitely from a spatial dimension. 10 yuan for a souvenir? Totally worth it. I was speechless. We kept walking through the chaos until I finally spotted what I was looking for. A stall tucked in a corner was covered in strange, glowing herbs. Boss, how much for the power flower? I asked. 5,000, the man replied. Before I could even process the price, the system interface flickered to life in front of my eyes. Option 1. Loudly accuse the boss of selling a fake. Reward, a medium boost to beast power. Option 2. Don't expose him and just walk away. Reward, Little Yellow's body size increases by 10%. Option 3. Tell him off for using wet paint to fake a power flower. Reward, mid-grade wind attribute potion. I stared at the flower. It looked vibrant, but now that the system mentioned it, I could see the faint sheen of artificial pigment. This place was a minefield of scams. Just as I was about to make a move, a familiar, arrogant voice cut through the air. I'll take it. 10,000 yuan. I turned around. It was Zheng Yi. His face was still a mess of purple and blue bruises from our encounter the night before. He looked at me with pure hatred. Chinshu, you shameless coward, you actually dared to ambush me? I played it cool. I have no idea what you're talking about. Oh, I remember you now. You're going to regret crossing me. You want this power flower? In your dreams. Power flowers were the core ingredient for strength-enhancing potions. They were rare in the black market, and the big shops usually charged a fortune for them. 15,000, I said calmly. Zheng Yi's eyes widened. You have 15,000 yuan. None of your business, I countered. 20,000, Zheng Yi barked. A single power flower could make about 5 bottles of potion, worth maybe 25,000 yuan total. At 20,000, he was barely going to break even. 30,000, I said, my voice steady. I didn't have 30,000 yuan. I didn't even have 5,000. But I knew Zheng Yi. He was a rich kid with a bruised ego. If the vendor tried to force me to pay, I'd just point out the paint and walk away. The vendor looked like he was about to have a heart attack from pure joy. He'd never seen two idiots fight over a fake like this. Zheng Yi's face turned a sickly shade of green. He was hesitating. What's the matter? I mocked. I thought you were a rich heir. Can't even handle a bidding war for a flower? Where's all that strength you keep talking about? That did it. My sarcasm hit him like a physical blow. 40,000, he screamed. Sold, I said instantly. You've got real guts, Zheng Yi. I respect that. I turned on my heel and walked away before he could realize he'd just paid 40,000 yuan for a handful of painted weeds. The vendor didn't waste a second. He finalized the transaction, packed his things, and vanished into the crowd before Zheng Yi could even blink. Man, that was satisfying, Dolly whispered, though he looked a bit worried. But how did he know it was you who attacked him last night? I frowned. I was wondering the same thing. Someone must have talked. Dolly slapped his thigh, looking proud. It was me. I told the whole class group chat. I wanted everyone to know my brother Qinshu is a legend now. You're famous. I stopped dead in my tracks. You what? Yeah, I posted it right after you told me. Everyone is talking about you. I pulled out my phone. My notifications were exploding. The chat was a disaster. Dolly had posted, the guy who beat down Zheng Yi was my brother Qinshu. If you want revenge, come find me. Zheng Yi had replied, I knew it was you, Qinshu. You're dead. Even our teacher, Mr. Li, had joined the chat. Fong had chimed in. Qinshu, come to my office tomorrow morning. I looked at Dolly. He was grinning like a golden retriever. Dolly, I said, rubbing my temples. We don't need to be high profile. Being low-key is the ultimate flex. Do you understand? He nodded vigorously, though I knew he didn't get it at all. We spent the next hour looking for real power flowers, but every stall was empty. The big corporations and the government usually snatched them all up. Eventually, we ducked into one of the permanent shops. 20,000 for one flower. I muttered, looking at the price tag. Forget it. Between the flower and the other ingredients, I'd be spending 25,000 just to make 25,000. It was a waste of time. I needed a better way. Hey, I asked the shopkeeper, are you hiring? Summer was coming, and I needed a job. Not just for the money, but to meet more people and trigger more system options. We are, the man said, pointing to a sign outside. I walked out to read it. Asterisk wanted, intern, tasks, sorting and organizing goods. Hours, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Salary, for 100 yuan a month. Summer students, half pay, asterisk. I stared at the sign. For 100 a month? And 200 for students? Even a wolf from Wall Street would cry at those labor conditions. This wasn't a shop, it was a slave camp. Interested, kid? The man asked. You look decent. I can skip the interview. I'll pass, I said, and we bolted. We were halfway to the exit when the ground suddenly groaned. A massive explosion rocked the street. I looked up and saw two high-level beasts clashing in the sky. A giant bird covered in red flames was diving toward a 2-meter-tall shadow creature. The air turned hot, and the crowd began to scream. The black market was about to get a lot more dangerous. The red bird had the advantage of flight, but it was being completely suppressed. The shadow creature below extended a black line, like a thick rope, binding the firebird's wings and dragging it down. Nearby, Su Xiaoyu looked pale. She never expected to run into a crisis like this in the black market. That red bird was her contracted spirit, an A-grade flame bird. The crowd started whispering and backing away. People were shouting that the city guard would arrive soon, but no one wanted to get involved. The beast tamer controlling the shadow was at least level 9. To stop him, you'd need an iron-level tamer. Those people were elites who formed professional exploration teams in other dimensions. They didn't just hang around the black market. Zhang Dali stared at the struggling bird. That's Su Xiaoyu's spirit, he whispered. When she had first awakened that thing, it shook the entire grade. He looked at me, his face serious. Qinshu, what's the move? It looks like it's time for us to act. Indeed, I said, my voice heavy. It's time. We gripped our fists and shared a meaningful nod. Then, we turned around and bolted toward the south exit as fast as our legs could carry us. We had survived the streets for years because of our ability to run away. The battle was about to spill over, and I wasn't planning on being collateral damage. But as I was running, four semi-transparent boxes flashed in my vision. Option 1. Release the golden slime and crush the shadow monster. Reward, level up by 1. Option 2. Ignore the situation and keep running. Reward: slime skill charge +1. Option 3. Capture the leader first. Ambush the shadow monster's owner. Reward: golden slime, all attributes +5%. System will lock his location. Option 4. Shout at the crowd to come watch the show. Reward: title non-human calamity, +20% damage to non-human beings. I froze. That title sounded incredibly cool, but the effect was useless for now. I looked at option 3. If I wanted to survive in this world, I needed stats. Dolly, stop, I shouted. We're doing the right thing. We're saving Su Xiaoyu. I reached into my backpack and pulled out a heavy, woven plastic bag, the kind used for fertilizer. Dolly stared at it, his jaw dropping. You carry a urea bag with you? I thought I was a menace, but you're on a different level. Less talking, more moving, I hissed. My vision shifted. A red glow pulsed at the end of the street, highlighting a man standing by the wall. Most tamers below iron level are vulnerable because they can only summon one beast, leaving their own bodies unprotected. This guy was a buzzcut thug with a wicked smirk, looking every bit like a B-movie villain. To distract him, I summoned Little Yellow. My slime was only level 2, but after my recent system rewards, he had grown to half a meter tall. He looked like a giant, wobbling pile of golden jelly. Goo! Little Yellow chirped, bouncing in place. Under my command, the slime hopped toward the battlefield. The thug's eyes widened as he saw a massive yellow shape flying toward his shadow creature. What the hell? Where did this giant piece of crap come from? He was distracted. That was our opening. Dolly and I moved like ghosts. We had spent years sneaking around, and we were better at it than most professionals. We crept up until we were less than a meter behind him. I could see the back of his head. I shared a dark grin with Dolly, and we both let out a low, synchronized chuckle. The man sensed something and started to turn, but it was too late. I slammed the urea bag over his head, blinding him instantly. Then, we started swinging. Take this, and this, I yelled, throwing heavy punches. We didn't hold back. If he managed to call his beast back to protect him, we were dead. We were just high schoolers, but we were tall and built. There's a reason we always sat in the back row of the classroom. Stop! Stop hitting me! The man, whose name was Lu Wui, screamed from inside the bag. He was completely disoriented. This is Justice from the class monitor of Class 3. I shouted, trying to mask my voice. And from Wang Tong, the #1 student at 3rd High. Dolly added, happily throwing his own punches. We were shamelessly pinning the blame on the school's top students while we worked him over. The crowd watched in stunned silence. Finally, with one loud thud, Lu Wui went limp. The shadow monster, losing its connection to its master, vanished into thin air. I quickly recalled Little Yellow. Su Xiaoyu stood nearby, blinking in confusion. She looked around for a powerful master, only to see 2 familiar idiots standing over a man with a fertilizer bag on his head. You guys? She asked, walking over. Sister Xiaoyu, you're safe? I said, giving the bag one last kick for good measure. This thug tried to ambush you, but don't worry. We took care of it. You two did this? She was speechless. She expected a hero and got us. I pulled the bag off, revealing the man's bruised face. Someone in the crowd gasped. Wait, I know that face. He's a wanted criminal. People pulled out their phones. Sure enough, Lu Wui was a dangerous fugitive with a bounty of 100,000 yuan. My eyes practically turned into dollar signs. Soon, the city guard arrived to take him away. They cleared the market, and the 3 of us walked out onto the main street. I made sure to leave my phone number with the officers so they could send me the reward money. Dolly stood there with his arms crossed, acting like a legendary hermit. Keep the change, he muttered, pretending he didn't care about the cash. A hero leaves without a word, his deeds hidden in shadow. Exactly, I said, nodding solemnly. I, Chen Shu, live only for justice. We both acted like paragons of virtue, completely ignoring the fact that 5 minutes ago, we were sprinting away in terror. Su Xiaoyu looked at us, her expression softening into genuine respect. I owe you one. If you ever need anything, just let me know. Su Xiaoyu clearly hated owing people favors. She looked at us, her expression serious, ready to repay the debt. Let me help you guys with something, she offered. I don't want to leave this hanging. Sister Xiaoyu. I said, matching her serious tone. We didn't help you just to get something in return. Then, I immediately pivoted. By the way, I'm looking for a summer job. Beside me, Zhang Dali stiffened. He looked at me like I'd just grown a second head. You literally just said you didn't want anything. I almost believed you. Xiaoyu tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, a light night breeze making her look incredibly graceful. Too bad her beauty was wasted on two idiots like us. What kind of job are you looking for? I might have a recommendation. My requirements aren't high, Dali chimed in, not missing a beat. Low stress, close to home, and high pay. Who could refuse a job like that? Dali, that's way too much, I said, sounding disappointed in him. I turned to Xiaoyu. Sister Xiaoyu, I'm different. I just want a job where I can lie down at home and count money. Xiaoyu gave a stiff, awkward laugh. You two really aren't picky, are you? Actually, my family's company is hiring. You could give it a try. What's the position? I asked. Xiaoyu looked a bit embarrassed. It's mostly patrolling the grounds. Security service. Security? I frowned. I was actually hoping for something related to alchemy. But before I could decline, Dali's eyes lit up. He looked ecstatic. A security guard job? For real. I stared at him. Dali, are you sick? If your parents found out their son, a black iron-level beast tamer, was working as a mall cop, they'd beat you senseless. Dali's family was well off, definitely middle class. Why was he so hyped about being a guard? Chinpai, you don't understand anything, Dali said, looking proud. If you haven't worked as a security guard this year, you're officially out of style. I sighed and shook my head. I wondered if he'd ever be normal. Sister Xiaoyu, I actually know how to concoct potions. Is there anything more suitable? You know alchemy? Xiaoyu's eyebrows shot up in disbelief. It wasn't something you just picked up on a whim. You needed years of complex pharmacological knowledge. Usually, only top university graduates got those jobs. And here was a high schooler claiming he could do it. I can't make the call on that. But if you really want to try, come by the office. My family's company focuses on liquid medicines, so that's core business. But if you just want to be guards, just say you're my classmates. You're both tall enough for it. She gave us a small bow. Thanks again for tonight. We exchanged contact info and headed our separate ways. I can't believe we just saved the top student, Dali mused as we walked. Chinpai, do you think we're the main characters of this world? I'm not, I said. But you definitely are. Dali beamed. Why do you say that? Because you have the classic protagonist trait. Dali stopped in his tracks, his eyes wide, looking like he'd finally found his soulmate. I've hidden it for 17 years, and you finally saw through me? Your vision is extraordinary. My lip twitched. Can you stop being a narcissist for 1 second? Hey, you just said I had the trait. Yeah, I nodded. Most protagonists start off as total losers. You fit that perfectly. You dog. Dali flipped me off, and we spent the rest of the walk home joking around. Back at my apartment, I cleaned up and got ready to crash. Just as I was about to hit the pillow, the system flashed in front of my eyes. Asterisk option 1. Cultivate all night to absorb spiritual energy. Reward. Diligent talent title, 10% cultivation boost. Asterisk. Asterisk option 2. Go straight to sleep. Reward. A small amount of beast tamer power. Asterisk. I didn't even have to think. If I had to work hard even with a system, then what was the point of having a system? I turned on the AC, pulled up the covers, and passed out instantly. The next morning, I stepped into the classroom and was immediately met with looks of pure awe. Paiji, you're a legend, one classmate shouted. Everyone else uses their battle pets, but you went full melee. You've opened up a whole new path of combat. Exactly, another added. Your reputation in the regular class is even bigger than Xiaoyu's now. That fertilizer bag move was iconic. We'll be studying that for years. Paiji, do you have any more of those bags? I want to hang one on my wall to ward off evil spirits. I waved them off, tilting my head back and closing my eyes like the praise was a heavy burden I had to carry. Keep it down, everyone. Stay humble. It was a team effort with the class monitor. While I was busy soaking in the glory, a harsh voice cut through the noise. Get out of the way. Who the hell is Chin Shu? A skinny student with sharp, aggressive eyes stood at the door. Zhongnan, what are you doing here? Meng Meng, a girl from my class, stepped forward to block him. What? I'm not welcome. Zhongnan sneered, crossing his arms. I heard someone in the sophomore class bullied my younger brother and cost my family 40,000 yuan. As his big brother, I figured I should come ask about it. Or are you too chicken to admit it? His eyes locked onto me. He'd clearly done his homework. He walked toward me, and the other students scrambled back. The seniority system in school was real, and he carried the pressure of an upperclassman. Zheng Nen looked me up and down with a smirk. So, you're the one they call Chen Shu? He reached out his right hand, intending to mockingly pat my cheek. I didn't flinch. I snatched his wrist midair. Suddenly, 3 options appeared. Option 1. Let him pat your face and smile like a sycophant. Reward. Man of the Hour title. Increases appetite by 50%. Option 2. Say you have the wrong guy. I'm Zhang Dali. Reward. Golden slime size increases by 10%. Option 3. Strike back immediately and show your style. Note. Zheng Nan is a level 6 beast tamer. Reward. Skill book, Heavenly Tyrant. I almost laughed at the first option. The reward was as ridiculous as the action. I didn't have time to overthink. I'd beaten a level 9 fugitive. A level 6 student was nothing. I gripped his wrist tight with my left hand and swung my right. Slap. The sound echoed through the room. Yeah, I'm Chen Shu. You got a problem? Zheng Nan's head snapped to the side. His brain was probably ringing. He looked stunned. Since when were underclassmen this violent? Where was the fear? He was a level 6 beast tamer, but he was scrawny. He couldn't match my raw strength. You're dead. Zheng Nan's face turned purple with rage, his fists trembling. What? I challenged. You want to summon your pet now? I didn't give him a chance to recover. I raised my right hand and slapped him again, even harder than the first time. According to the official beast tamer regulations, we weren't allowed to summon our battle pets whenever we felt like it. If a pet injured a person or caused a scene in public, the Spirit Bureau would step in and investigate immediately. The laws were strict to keep society stable. I knew the rules, and so did everyone else in Class 5. Go ahead, my classmates taunted. Summon it. We'll call the Spirit Bureau before it even takes a breath. Casual fistfights were one thing, but using a magical creature to attack a human was a serious crime. If you have the guts, follow me to the school's combat hall. Zheng Nan roared. His face was flushing a deep purple. He hadn't expected me to be this ruthless. I was just systematically beating the life out of him. You think I'm as stupid as you? I sneered, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Coming all this way just to get your face wrecked? I think you've played too much Plants vs. Zombies. Zheng Nan's head was spinning from the slaps. He looked dazed. What does that mean? It means the zombies ate your brain, I snapped. I leaned in close, patting his swollen cheek with mock affection. I'll ask you one last time. My name is Chen Shu. Do you have a problem with that? I looked like the biggest villain in the room. The other students stared, confused. Usually, Zheng Nan was the bully, but right now, I was the one acting like a tyrant. No problem, Zheng Nan muttered. He finally backed down, looking utterly humiliated. He clearly regretted coming here alone. If he'd known I was this strong, he would have brought a crowd. All right, break it up. Our homeroom teacher, Feng Ku, finally strolled into the classroom. He looked at the chaos and then at me. Chen Shu, what do you think you're doing? Oh, Teacher Feng. We were just playing around, I said with a straight face. Zheng Nan here just leveled up. He wanted to spar with me to test his new strength. The class went silent. It was the most ridiculous lie they'd ever heard. What beast tamer tests their strength by getting slapped in the face? I see. Feng Ku nodded, surprisingly accepting the excuse. All right, Zheng Nan. Go back to your own class. Zheng Nan limped away, his face bruised and swollen. Before he disappeared around the corner, he shot me a look full of pure venom. Chen Shu, be careful. Feng Ku warned me quietly. Zheng Nan is a sore loser. When he gets desperate, he's capable of anything. I shrugged. Anything? Can he finish a college entrance exam paper? Feng Ku sighed, rolling his eyes. Stop talking nonsense. Come to my office. My face fell. I reluctantly followed him down the hall while the classroom erupted behind me. The students were buzzing. I had just thrashed both Zheng brothers. Zheng Yi was a class monitor, and Zheng Nan was a top-tier student from Class 1. They were the school's golden boys, and I had treated them like punching bags. Some students were impressed, but most were worried. In a dark alley where there are no cameras, the Spirit Bureau wouldn't be able to help me if those two decided to get revenge. Inside the office, Fonka sat down and stared at me. You didn't hit him? He just wanted to discuss some questions. I lied. What questions? He asked if my name was Chinshu. I gave him a very friendly answer. Fonka looked at me, exhausted. Then how did he get those bruises? Every time I answered, he got so emotional and moved that he kept hitting his head against my hand. I said, looking as innocent as possible. Fonka stared at me for a long time. He knew I was full of it, but he also knew Zheng Nin had started the trouble. Fine, I'll let it slide this time. But listen, Chinshu, the school doesn't allow students to fight each other directly. Humans are fragile. If a pet gets hurt, it heals. If a human dies, it's over. Teacher, I was just teaching him a lesson about the real world, I argued. If he goes into a dimensional rift, the monsters won't just target his pet. If he can't protect himself, his powerful pet is useless. Spare the rod, spoil the student. I'm doing this for his own good. Fonko actually looked stunned. For a second, it seemed like my twisted logic had actually convinced him. I can see my words have touched your soul, I said, cupping my hands in a respectful gesture. I'll leave you to reflect on that. Goodbye. I ducked out of the office before he could change his mind. I walked back to class whistling, feeling better than ever. My golden slime, Little Yellow, had just gained a new skill from the Heavenly Tyrant book, Unstoppable Body. For a short period, it could ignore all crowd control effects from pets of the same level. Between impact, gigantification, and now Unstoppable Body, my little slime was becoming a powerhouse. Usually, an F-grade pet like a slime would never learn skills on its own. That was why the old Chinshu had given up. But with my system, I was breaking every rule of biology. As I sat down, Fonka walked into the classroom, having recovered from his soul-searching. Listen up, he announced. Final exams are in 1 month. The school is offering massive rewards. Top 30 students get beast taming pearls. Top 5 get mid-grade pearls. And for the #1 student in the grade, there is a spirit pill. The room should have exploded with excitement, but instead, it stayed dead silent. A spirit pill was worth hundreds of thousands of yuan. It increased the chance of a pet learning a new skill during an evolution. It was incredibly rare, but we were class 5, the leftover class. The top student in the school, Su Xiaoyu, was already level 7. Even our class's best student, Xia Bing, was only level 5. We had no chance. Come on, guys, Fonko urged. You have to have dreams. What if that 1 in 1,000 chance comes true? I leaned back in my chair and spoke up. And what about the other 999 chances where we fail miserably? The class stayed silent. Everyone looked at me and nodded. Yeah, he's got a point. So the rest of the probability is just failure, right? I asked. Fonka gritted his teeth. I could tell he was wondering what kind of student Li Yuan had dumped on him. Is making money the only thing you care about? You're destroying the class morale. Teacher Fong, I'm just telling the truth, I said, my face full of sincerity. Enough, Fonka finally snapped. If you fail the cultural exam one more time, don't bother staying in class 5. Right then, the system pinged. 3 options appeared in front of my eyes. Option 1, apologize sincerely. Say, teacher, I was wrong, and beg for forgiveness. Reward, a small amount of beast taming power. Option 2, stand up proudly and say, 30 years east, 30 years west. I will definitely pass the final exam. If I fail, I'll drop out voluntarily. Reward, mid-grade strength potion. Option 3, ask seriously. Is class 1 finally ready to recruit me? Reward, high school beast taming history knowledge. I didn't hesitate. Option 2 sounded like a main character, but the reward for option 3 was too tempting. I looked at Fong Ku with a straight face. Is it because class 1 is going to recruit me? Fong Ku took a deep breath, forcing himself to stay calm. You're actually sick in the head, aren't you? He looked like he was about to explode. When I said you won't be in class 5, I didn't mean you're going to the elite class. I have a meeting. Start self-study. Keep it quiet. He turned and stormed out of the classroom. Final exams were coming up, and the teachers were constantly meeting to prepare. As soon as he stepped outside, he ran into a dark-faced man. It was Li Yuan, Fong Ke's old teacher. Old Li, you really screwed me over this time. Fangke started venting immediately, listing my crimes like they were a history book. Li Yuan just looked at him with a calm, experienced expression. You think this is bad? You haven't experienced the combo of Chun Shu and Zhang Dali. They can drive a man insane. Back in the classroom, my eyes were glowing. I was staring at practice tests, and the answers were coming to me instinctively. The system was incredible. Knowledge that others spent years studying was being downloaded directly into my brain. I spent the whole morning digesting the information. It wasn't just for the exam. I was gaining a complete understanding of what it meant to be a beast tamer. Holy crap, did Chen Shu change his personality? Is he actually trying to aim for second to last place this time? My classmates were whispering. I didn't care. I kept studying through the afternoon. It was so out of character that people started getting worried. Chen Shu, are you okay? Xia Bing walked over. She was wearing a white dress and had a look of genuine concern. But it wasn't a normal look. It was the way you look at a patient in a hospital bed. I looked up and realized everyone was staring at me. I'm just reading a book, I said. You don't need to look at me like that. He's gone crazy, someone whispered. Send him to the school doctor. Xia Bing bit her lip. Chen Shu, if you want to study, I can tutor you. You don't have to push yourself this hard. The room went silent. People were shocked. The cold class representative was actually offering to help the class clown? Xia Bing's face turned red, and she looked down. I'm the study rep. I should take care of my classmates' grades. I stared at her blankly. Suddenly, the system popped up again. Option 1, politely decline. Reward, a small amount of beast taming power. Option 2, rub my hands together and say, tutoring sounds great. When do we start? Reward, 20% ice resistance for my slime. Option 3, say righteously. Are you questioning my ability to learn? Reward, 20% all attribute resistance for my slime. This wasn't even a question. I stood up and looked at the petite Xiaobing. Class rep, are you seriously questioning my learning ability? The classroom went dead quiet. My classmates looked at me like I was the ultimate steel straight man. Even if the god of love tied a red string between us, I would have probably snapped it like a piece of dry straw. I sat back down, completely ignoring the awkwardness. I wasn't being a jerk. I was being practical. Oh, Xia Bing whispered. She looked embarrassed. She probably thought we were friends after I gave her that beast-taming pearl yesterday. She turned around and walked back to her seat in silence. Chen Shu, you're a legend, Wang Meng sighed. You just shut her down completely. The rest of the afternoon flew by. When the bell rang, I stood up and stretched, letting out a massive, long-winded yawn. It was so loud that half the class started yawning along with me. Is that long yawn really necessary? Someone grumbled. I ignored them and walked toward the school gate. I was summarizing my progress. I was already a level 2 beast tamer. If I could hit level 4, I'd be in the top 30 of the grade. The system was great, but the college entrance exam was still the biggest chance to change my life. As I stepped out of the gate, 7 or 8 guys suddenly surrounded me. The leader was Zheng Nan, the older brother of the guy I dealt with before. Hey, isn't this brother Nan? I grinned. Your face looks even more swollen than last time. But don't worry, I can still recognize your stylish aura. Zheng Nan looked like he was about to choke on his own blood. I hit him where it hurt, his pride. Are the juniors these days always this arrogant? A guy in a white shirt and glasses asked. He looked like he thought he was superior just because he was a year older. What year is it? I laughed. Do you think being a senior makes you a god? I thought it was raining, but it's just you making me speechless. The group was losing their cool. They were young and hot-headed, and my insults were working perfectly. As they stepped forward to teach me a lesson, I took a deep breath. Murder! I screamed at the top of my lungs. The seniors are killing people. My voice was like a megaphone. The group froze, looking around in a panic. I hadn't even been touched, and I was already accusing them of homicide. People were starting to look. The school guards were turning their heads. Damn it, let's get out of here, Zheng Nan hissed. They scrambled away before a crowd could form. I tried to blend into the crowd, but a few security guards stepped in. They recognized old Kai, my neighbor who had driven me to school, immediately. In a school like this, only a few people stand out, and old Kai was one of them. What's going on here? One of the guards asked, eyeing Zheng Nan and his crew. Officer, we didn't do anything. Zheng Nan stammered, his face pale. We were just, having a friendly chat. A chat. The guard looked at old Kai's towering frame. People don't scream murder during a friendly chat. What happened? I didn't miss a beat. Officer Wong. This guy said he wanted to kill me. He said he needed to sacrifice my life to mourn his lost youth. Zheng Nan and his friends looked like they were about to cough up blood. What kind of nonsense was I spewing? Their faces twisted in pure frustration. I could tell they wanted to scream that I wasn't normal, but the guards were already judging them. Just then, a stern-looking middle-aged man in a suit walked toward the gate. It was Director Ma, the head of the senior year. Zheng Nan's face went from pale to ghostly. Director Ma, you're finally here. I cried out, looking like the most aggrieved victim in history. I started pouring out a list of Zheng Nan's supposed crimes. Slow down, student, Director Ma said, looking at Zheng Nan. He clearly knew his own students. At first, he looked angry that his seniors were bullying a junior, but as I kept talking, his expression turned to pure confusion. Sacrifice of youth? Killing me just to liven up the mood? All right, Director Ma interrupted, rubbing his temples. I get the gist of it. You head home now. I'll handle the rest. I acted like I had more to say, lingering for a second before finally walking away with a hidden smirk. Behind me, I heard Director Ma scolding them. Zheng Nan, the college entrance exams are days away. Why are you provoking people? Director, we really didn't do anything. Zheng Nan wailed. With the bruises already on his face from our last encounter, he actually looked like the victim, but Director Ma wasn't buying it. I headed home and got straight to work. Even though the system gave me knowledge about beast history, I still had to practice the exam questions. If the system was feeding me, I still had to open my mouth to eat. Plus, after offending the Zheng brothers, I knew I shouldn't be wandering the streets at night. I didn't want to flip my boat in a shallow ditch. A week passed quickly. I kept a low profile and stayed out of trouble. During those days, I triggered the system twice, choosing rewards that boosted my golden slime's strength and size. Even though I was only a level 2 beast tamer, Little Yellow's combat power was now easily on par with a level 3. Finally, the holiday arrived. The school was a designated testing site for the national exams, which meant the rest of us got a 3-day break. Chenpai, what are your plans for the break? My classmate Wang Ming asked. He and the other top students were already talking about heading to specialized training dojos to cram their cultivation. Me? I'm going to interview for a summer job, I said. I wanted to check out Su Xiaoyu's family business and see if I could make some real money. Wang Ming shook his head. You really have a relaxed mindset. To them, I was the bottom of the class, someone who had already given up. I just yawned and didn't explain. With the system, I didn't need to save the world or carry a blood feud. I just wanted to take things slow. Suddenly, a dark-skinned man appeared at the classroom door. It was my old homeroom teacher, Li Yuan. Old Li, what's up? I asked, leaning back with my hands behind my head. You brat, Li Yuan snapped, hitting me lightly on the head. He looked serious. Are you in trouble? People from the Spirit Bureau are here for you. The Spirit Bureau? My heart skipped a beat. They were way more serious than the regular police. I followed him to his office, where I saw Zhang Dali sitting with a man in a black shirt. They were chatting like old friends. Uncle Wang, this is my best friend, Chenpai. Zhang Dali jumped up the moment he saw me. I told you about that day. It was terrifying. That wanted criminal was huge. His beast was vicious. But were we scared? No. We are upright citizens. We just charged in and beat him down. It was bloody, Uncle Wang. Truly bloody. Zhang Dali was spitting everywhere, acting like a hero. The man, Wang Qian, just shook his head. Dali, I've known you since you were a kid. I know exactly how much of this is a lie. He turned his gaze to me, his eyes full of praise. I assumed this young hero was the one who actually led the charge. Suddenly, 3 options appeared in my vision. Humbly deny it. Reward, small amount of beast power. 2, just nod arrogantly. Reward, random skill upgrade for my beast. 3, act like a total badass. Reward, 10% boost to all of Golden Slime's attributes. I didn't even have to think. I chose the third one. I spun around, clasping my hands behind my back, and stared out the window with a dramatic sigh. Uncle Wang, your eyes are sharp. You hit the nail right on the head. I let my voice fill with passion. That thug was too arrogant. To commit a crime in broad daylight right in front of me? Unacceptable. I pulled out a heavy sack, shoved it over his head, and delivered a dose of divine justice. A few slaps later, he didn't even know what planet he was on. Stop, stop! Wang Qian interrupted, his face twitching. He looked at me like I was the strangest kid he'd ever met. Wang Qian stared at us for a long time. He looked like he was trying to figure out if we were genuinely insane or just incredibly stupid. Maybe both. He probably figured the 100,000 yuan reward we were getting should be spent on a brain scan at a major hospital. I have to ask, Wang Qian said, leaning forward. How did you find him? That criminal only summoned his beast. He stayed hidden in the crowd. Even experienced beast tamers struggle to pick out a target like that unless their beast has a specific scouting skill. I kept my face straight. I couldn't exactly tell him the system highlighted the guy in a glowing red light that nearly blinded me. I just saw his face. I said, my voice dripping with fake sincerity. He looked evil. One look and I knew he wasn't a good person. It was just intuition. Wang Qian's eyes widened. He looked like he wanted to scream. Intuition? That's your reason? Do you realize how reckless that is? What if you were wrong? You could have attacked an innocent person. It's fine, I shrugged. We used a bag. He couldn't see our faces anyway. Wang Qian and my teacher, Li Yuan, shared a look of pure exhaustion. These two kids were even more reckless than they imagined. We hadn't used logic. We had just guessed and prepared a getaway plan. Regardless, Wang Qian sighed, giving up on the interrogation. You saved Su Xiaoyu. She's the daughter of the CEO of 666 pharmaceutical company. If something had happened to her, the bureau would have been in chaos. Here is your 100,000 yuan reward from the bureau. He didn't bother asking anything else. In his mind, we were just two lucky idiots who stumbled into a win. He had initially hoped my beast, Little Yellow, had unlocked some legendary scouting skill, but a slime doing that was practically impossible. Uncle Wang, what about the news? Zhang Dali asked, looking disappointed. He didn't care about the money, but he was obsessed with becoming famous. Is there going to be a citywide announcement? For a level 9 criminal? No, Wang Qian said as he stood up to leave. Unless he was iron level. If you want fame, pay for a newspaper ad yourself. I have to go. The college entrance exams are coming up, and the bureau is going to be busy keeping the peace. As soon as he left, Zhang Dali turned his puppy dog eyes on our teacher. Teacher Li, can we at least get a school-wide announcement? If I can't be famous in the city, I want to be famous here. Li Yuan looked at us like we were aliens. You two actually caught a wanted criminal? And saved the top student in the grade, Su Xiaoyu? Don't doubt it, old Li. Zhang Dali bragged, leaning back. It was no coincidence. Li Yuan's expression turned cold instantly. What did you just call me? Zhang Dali shivered. Teacher Li. I meant Teacher Li. Forget the announcement, Li Yuan snapped. You can spend your 3-day exam break copying the history textbook 10 times. I might not be able to control Chenpai, but I can definitely handle you. Zhang Dali's head dropped. He looked like a deflated balloon. Both of you, go home, Li Yuan said, his voice softening but remaining serious. You got lucky this time. Next time, consider your own strength before playing hero. Without power, you only end up hurting yourselves and others. As for the announcement, in your dreams. We left the office feeling pretty dejected. Dali, I should give you half the reward money, I said as we walked toward the gates. But I know you won't take it, so I'll just keep it for now. Hey, I didn't even say no yet. Zhang Dali complained. Then he brightened up. Anyway, tomorrow I'm heading to 666 Pharmaceutical. I'm going to try and get a job as a security guard. I looked at him, confused. Why do you want to be a security guard so badly? Did you awaken some kind of security system? Because I've wanted to protect the peace since I was a kid, he said proudly. Just then, a black Mercedes pulled up to the school gate. The window rolled down to reveal a rugged man wearing sunglasses. Son, get in, the man shouted. He spotted me and smiled. Chenpai is here too? Perfect, let's go home together. It was Zhang Dali's father, Zhang Feng. He was a powerful iron-level beast tamer. In this world, levels 1 through 9 are just the beginning. The jump to iron level is massive. When a tamer reaches iron level, their beast undergoes a bloodline evolution, and they get to contract a second beast from the other dimension. Even better, they receive a physical feedback loop that makes their own body 10 times stronger than a normal human. That's why only iron-level tamers can lead mercenary groups into the dimensional rifts. I finished my business in Daxing City, so I came straight back. Zhang Feng laughed as we hopped in. I heard you joined the Beast Tamer class, Chenpai, Zhang Feng said as he drove. Good for you. It's a shame Dolly has no talent. If he did, I'd drag him to iron level myself. Dad, stop, Zhang Dolly muttered, looking out the window. I've been wondering for 17 years. You and Mom both have talent. The scientists say talent is hereditary. I'm starting to think I'm not even yours. Nonsense, Zhang Feng grinned, rubbing his rough jaw. You inherited my handsome face. But honestly, I've wondered too. The odds of you having zero talent are like winning the lottery. You must have offended someone in a past life. Whatever, Zhang Dolly sighed, looking surprisingly peaceful. I've accepted it. I've got you guys now, and later I'll have Chun Pai and Sister Fong Si to protect me. I'm just going to enjoy my life. He had truly mastered the art of being a slacker. Uncle Zhang, I asked, my heart racing a bit. Can you tell me about the dimensional spaces? I was a beast tamer now. With my system, I knew I wouldn't be staying in the city forever. Zhang Feng's expression changed. He looked distant, almost haunted. The dimensional spaces, some call them heaven, others call them hell. They are crawling with monsters, but they're also full of resources that can make you rich overnight. But they can also end your life in a heartbeat. Don't ever go in there without a powerful team and enough strength to back it up. He went quiet after that. He had watched me grow up, and I could tell he didn't want me taking those kinds of risks. But looking at the system prompts in the corner of my eye, I knew my path was already heading straight for the danger. Uncle Zhang had watched me grow up, so he naturally didn't want me taking unnecessary risks. With my current strength, stepping into a dimensional space would be a death sentence. The three of us headed back to our apartment complex. Zhang Feng and his son, Zhang Dali, came over to my place for dinner. Our families were neighbors and had always been incredibly close. After a few drinks and a good meal, the Zhangs headed home. Before they left, I made a plan with Dali to meet up the next morning for our interview at the 666 pharmaceutical company. I collapsed onto my bed and pulled out my phone. I wondered if I should message Su Xiaoyu. Even though she didn't have direct control over the alchemist positions, she was well connected. Just as I was about to open our chat, a barrage of notifications lit up my screen. It was Fong Si. My heart skipped a beat. Why was she messaging me now? I looked at the chat and saw a long string of voice notes, followed by a text. Can you understand this feeling? I stared at the long audio bars and felt a headache coming on. I didn't even listen to them. I just typed back, Sister Fong Si, I totally understand. That's just too much, isn't it? I thought back to the girl I grew up with. Fong Si lived in our complex and was 3 years older than me. Back in the day, she, Zhang Dali, and I were the terrifying trio of Nanjiang No. 2 High School. But unlike Dali and me, Fong Si was a genuine genius. Her first contracted spirit was a terrifying S rank. Then her second one was S rank, too. She broke every record in the school's history. With a near-perfect score on her college entrance exams, she became the city's top scholar and got into the elite China Academy. She had a fiery personality and ruled the high school like a tyrant. Everyone was terrified of her. Ding, 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 my phone buzzed again. I sent blank voice notes. Chenpai, is your skin itching for a beating? My corner of my mouth twitched. I clicked the audio. Sure enough, it was dead silence. I scrambled to fix my mistake. Exactly, Sister Fong Si. It's that feeling of empty powerlessness. I really do get it. That's what I call a masterclass in psychological tension. Stop joking, she replied. Is anyone at school bullying you or Dolly? I might come back for a bit during summer break. If they are, I'll clean them up for you. No need, sister. I typed back, trying to be polite. You're busy with your studies. Then, my fingers flew across the screen. Actually, let me send you a list of names. I wasn't being polite at all. I started drafting a list immediately. Zheng Yi, Zheng Nan, Wang Tong, basically anyone I couldn't stand. Since Fong Si was the local legend, I figured it was time for the king of troublemakers to make a comeback. We chatted for a few more minutes before she had to go. Life at the China Academy was incredibly competitive, and she rarely had free time. Once she was gone, I messaged Su Xiaoyu. Sister Xiaoyu, I have an interview tomorrow. Any chance you can give me some insider info? I waited, but there was no reply. I got impatient. Are you busy? I'm eating melons, she finally replied. Eating melons? Who's the drama about? I asked, excited for some internet gossip. No, she replied. I'm literally eating a hammy melon. I rolled my eyes. A few minutes later, she got serious. For the alchemist position, if you were a pro at materials science in high school, you might land a job as an assistant. But a high schooler becoming a full alchemist? That's a fairy tale. Also, don't call me sister. Just call me Xiaoyu. I'm only 16. Most people awakened in their third year of middle school, but Xiaoyu had awakened in her first year of high school and got fast-tracked into the elite class. What if I can already refine a specific potion fluently? I asked. My strength potion skill was already at the mastery level. My success rate was 100%, and I could even save 30% on materials. Like cold medicine, she teased. Just go and try. Maybe an alchemist will take a liking to you. I could tell she didn't believe me. She probably thought I was just being my usual unreliable self. She went offline to cultivate, so I sighed, turned off the lights, and started reading a web novel. By 1 a.m., I was ready to crash when a system prompt appeared. Option 1. Cultivate all night to absorb spiritual energy. Reward. Super diligent talent. Title. Increases cultivation efficiency by 20%. Option 2. Go straight to sleep. Reward. A small amount of beast taming power. I didn't even hesitate. I rolled over and closed my eyes. A surge of energy flowed through my body, equivalent to about 2 days of hard cultivation for a genius. The next thing I knew, bright sunlight was stabbing through the curtains. Bleary-eyed, I grabbed my phone. 12:07. Why is it so early? I muttered. It's only the middle of the night. I was about to drift back to sleep when I jerked awake. Wait, if it's the middle of the night, where's the sun coming from? I bolted upright and stared at the screen. Holy crap, I slept until noon. Time really does fly during the holidays when you skip the entire morning. I washed up quickly. My parents were already at work. I ran over to Zhang Dali's place and pounded on the door. Dali, Zhang Dali. No answer. I took a deep breath and screamed, Fire! Fire! Within seconds, neighbors came running with extinguishers, looking panicked. Where is it? Where's the fire? I froze, embarrassed. Uncle Wong, Auntie Lu. I was just, waking him up, creating an atmosphere. They scolded me for a minute and left, relieved but annoyed. A moment later, Dali opened the door, rubbing his eyes. Chenpai, why are you yelling in the middle of the night? Whoa, look at the moon. Why is it so bright? He shielded his eyes from the sun. I stared at him, speechless. I wasn't the only one who thought it was 12 a.m. Why is your house so dark? I asked. His living room was pitch black. My dad's spirit has a skill called Nightfall, Dali yawned, stretching. It improves sleep quality. Pretty cool, right? He turned on the lights and got ready. 10 minutes later, we left the complex and headed toward the high-tech zone where the 666 pharmaceutical company was located. This pharmaceutical company was one of the top enterprises in the industry. Their main business was producing potions for beast tamers. Zhang Dali and I decided to splurge, taking a taxi all the way to the high-tech zone. We needed to eat first to get our energy up before the interview. We found a quiet Chinese restaurant with hardly any customers and ordered a few dishes. When the food arrived, Dali looked at the plate and frowned. Boss, what kind of signature dish is this? He asked, sounding annoyed. Tomato stir-fried with Western red persimmon. The waiter replied calmly. Dali poked at the plate with his chopsticks. But this is just tomatoes and more tomatoes. The Western red persimmon is in there too, the waiter said with a straight face. It took a second for the realization to hit me and Dali at the same time. We both burst out laughing. Tomato stir-fried with Western red persimmon? It was the same damn thing. Are you kidding me right now? I asked, my lip twitching. The waiter shrugged and came clean. Actually, it's just stir-fried tomatoes. The boss wanted to use more words to make the menu look fancy and diverse. I shook my head. Forget it, let's just eat. Despite the ridiculous name, the food actually tasted great. Once we were full, we headed to the entrance of the 666 pharmaceutical company. We stared up at the massive, imposing office building and walked inside like we owned the place. Excuse me, who are you two looking for? The security guard asked politely. Senior, Dali said, puffing out his chest. I'm Su Xiaoyu's classmate, Zhang Dali. I'm here to apply for a job as a security guard. The security captain smiled. Oh, it's you. Miss Su already gave us the heads up. There was no trouble at all. It turned out saving Su Xiaoyu's life really carried some weight. They were more than happy to help us out. A guard named Xiao Wang stepped forward to lead me to the pharmaceutical department, while Dolly stayed behind to finalize his spot on the security team. With his connections, Dolly was a shoo-in. My job, however, would depend entirely on luck. Little brother, wanting to be a pharmacist assistant isn't easy, Xiao Wang said, looking at me skeptically. It wasn't every day a high schooler tried to get into the lab. I'm not here to be an assistant, I said casually, admiring the high-end decor of the building. I'm here to actually brew potions. Xiao Wang let out a dry laugh. Haha, man, you've got a great sense of humor. We took the elevator to the 10th floor. A heavy, reinforced glass door slid open to reveal a series of small laboratories. Inside, people in white lab coats were busy at work. You want to be a pharmacist? A cold voice rang out. A tall woman with long, flowing hair and a freezing expression walked toward us. She radiated an aura of pure arrogance. Xiao Wang didn't even dare to look her in the eye. He mumbled a quick introduction and hurried away, leaving me alone with her. Yeah, I want to give it a try, I said, sizing her up. This isn't a playground for kids. Go home, she said, turning her back on me. She hadn't even looked at me properly. What is Xiaoyu thinking? Sending just anyone to the company. She's just creating trouble for me. My interview hasn't even started yet. I shouted at her back. It's already over. Her cold voice drifted back as she stepped into a lab. Suddenly, the system prompts flashed before my eyes. Option 1. Stay silent and go home dejected. Reward. Title failed before the start. Effect. Increases clumsy aura by 1. Option 2. Kick the woman in the butt when she isn't looking to shatter her arrogant composure. Reward. A moderate amount of beast-taming power. Option 3. Sneak into the lab and find an opportunity. Reward. Collision skill +1. I looked at her retreating figure. Part of me really wanted to pick option 2, but logic held me back. If I kicked her, I wouldn't just lose the job. I'd probably end up in jail. I decided to sneak in. Once she was out of sight, I walked up to the lab entrance. I saw a rack of lab coats and realized I needed to blend in. I calmly grabbed a white coat, put it on, and snapped on a face mask. I walked into the lab area with total confidence. I entered a small lab where 3 people were focused on brewing fire potions. They were working in perfect sync. Keeping busy, I see, I said, clasping my hands behind my back like a supervisor. They looked up, confused about who I was, but they saw the coat and the confident posture and just nodded respectfully. It's good to stay busy, I continued. The company relies on backbone talent like you. Take care, leader, one of them called out as I walked away. I nearly tripped. They actually thought I was an executive. My confidence surged. I kept patrolling until I found a lab dedicated to strength potions. It was empty. The staff must have stepped out for a break. I looked around and saw various herbs on the table. There were even 5 great strength flowers, which were incredibly expensive. My heart raced. I opened my system interface, and the recipe for strength potion was lit up. It said, crafting available. I clicked craft. Instantly, I entered a strange state. It felt like my body was on autopilot. My hands moved with the precision of a machine, picking up refined herbs and tossing them into the container in perfect proportions. Soon, a white liquid began to emit a faint, sweet aroma. I had successfully brewed a low-grade strength potion. A notification popped up. Once you brew 10 times, you will unlock mid-grade strength potion. Progress, 1/10. The system was even more powerful than I thought. Mid-grade potions were for level 4 to 6 spirits, and while they used the same base ingredients, they required more skill and sold for double the price. I kept going until I ran out of materials. I bottled the liquid into standard vials. I had 13 bottles sitting on the table. In the market, this was worth over 60,000 Chinese dollars, yet the cost of materials was less than 20,000. This industry was a gold mine. Usually, a pharmacist could get 5 to 10 bottles out of these materials, and that was if they didn't fail. Because the system was perfect, I got the maximum yield, plus a 30% bonus from the material saving mastery. 13 bottles at once. That was way too high profile. I heard footsteps approaching and realized I had to hide my tracks. I swiped 7 of the bottles into my system storage just as the door swung open. 2 people in lab coats walked in. One of them was the cold woman from earlier, Su Qingxue. She narrowed her eyes, looking at me with pure suspicion. "Who are you?" she demanded. My heart sank. Of all the people to walk in, it had to be her. I didn't expect the woman with the cold expression to be her. The lab layout was actually quite professional, but I wasn't there to admire the decor. Uncle Chen stood nearby with his hands behind his back. He gave a small nod and tried to walk toward the door as if nothing had happened. "It's you," Su Qingxue snapped, her reaction time instant. "That student." I cursed under my breath. I couldn't believe she recognized me that fast. Uncle Chen realized the game was up and pulled off his mask. "You dare to break into this laboratory?" Su Qingxue's eyes burned with anger. She clearly couldn't handle my boldness. "Sister, I really just came for an interview," I said, trying to sound casual. "Why make things difficult for me?" We stood there in a tense standoff, neither of us backing down. But then, the person accompanying Su Qingxue, another pharmacist, spotted the lab table. 6 bottles of strength potion sat there, glowing faintly. He rushed over and took a quick sniff of the liquid. "This is genuine strength potion," he shouted, his voice thick with disbelief. Su Qingxue froze. She turned back to me, her expression shifting from anger to pure shock. "You brewed these." "I told you," I said, shrugging my shoulders. "I actually know how to make this stuff." A high school student producing 6 bottles of strength potion in one go was unheard of. It meant my success rate and efficiency were higher than most professional alchemists. The room fell into a long, heavy silence. I guess some people really are just born to be background characters, while others lead the way. Finally, Su Qingxue swallowed hard. "What's your failure rate?" "I basically don't fail," I replied. She took a deep breath and spoke with newfound gravity. "On behalf of the company, I would like to invite you to become a departmental pharmacist." I could see the regret in her eyes. She had treated me like a nobody, and now she realized she was the one looking foolish. "I didn't really like your attitude earlier," I said, tilting my head. I looked her up and down with a smirk. She looked like she wanted to scream. She was probably only a few years older than me, likely a college student or a recent grad. She wasn't a lead pharmacist yet, probably just an assistant. But since her last name was Su, she clearly had a connection to Su Xiaoyu. Still, in an alchemy company, a talented brewer is king. Even she had to show respect now. "What do you want?" she asked, her brow furrowed. "An apology would be a good start," I said calmly. "You spent the whole morning looking down your nose at me. Nobody likes that. You ignored me then, but now you can't afford to." I decided to twist the knife a little further. "By the way, I can probably brew mid-grade and high-grade strength potions too. I just haven't practiced them much yet." The other pharmacist gasped. "You can brew high-grade?" "Sure. It's easy if you have hands," I joked. Su Qingxue struggled with herself for a moment before her expression turned decisive. "Fine. I apologize. But if I find out you're lying to me, don't expect to stay here." "Is that how you apologize?" I asked, frowning. I'm sorry," she muttered, looking at the floor. "What?" I didn't have my glasses on. "I couldn't hear you," I said, rubbing my eyes. "What do glasses have to do with your hearing?" she hissed. She knew I was messing with her, but she also knew my talent was too valuable to lose. If the higher-ups found out she chased away a genius, she'd be the one in trouble. "I apologize for my behavior," she said, taking a deep breath and speaking clearly. "Please forgive me, Mr. Chun." "That's more like it," I said. I didn't want to push too hard. She was a Su, after all, and I didn't want things to be awkward with my classmate Su Xiaoyu. "Look, I'm only here for the summer. Treat me like a temporary worker. Just pay me whatever." I didn't actually care about the base salary. My real profit was in the extra bottles. If a normal person made 5 bottles from a set of materials and I made 13, I could pocket 8 for myself. At $5,000 a bottle, that was $40,000 in pure profit every time I worked. The official wage was pocket change. "Fine. I'll draft the contract," Su Qingxue said. "The quota is 5 bottles a day per pharmacist. We don't keep idle people. If you can't hit that, you leave." 5 bottles. I could do that in one session. "No problem," I agreed. "Can I start today?" "Daily pay is fine." She nodded and left to handle the paperwork. Cold as she was efficient. Soon, I had a contract as a pharmacist assistant since I didn't have a license yet, but the pay was at the professional level, $1,000 a day. It sounded like a lot, but the company was making $5,000 in profit off my 5-bottle quota. They were taking an 80% cut. However, there was a beautiful loophole in the contract. Any surplus bottles produced from the provided materials belonged to the pharmacist. The company didn't even put cameras in the private labs. They knew that if you were good enough to produce extra, you deserved the reward. It was a win-win. I signed immediately. Because I could work independently, they gave me a private room. Only the struggling interns had to share. With my system, I was already miles ahead of everyone. By the end of the afternoon, while most 30-year-old pharmacists were sweating over their first batch, I had 20 bottles sitting on my table. I clapped the dust off my hands. My system storage now held 40 bottles of strength potion. This was faster than printing money. Xiao Mao, get me a 5th set of materials, I called out to the assistant at the door. The young man walked in, looking at me like I was a monster. Master Chun, aren't you tired? Not at all. I feel great. What? We're out of strength flowers in the inventory, he whispered. Already? That's it. I was disappointed. The company's stock was actually slowing me down. Just then, the door opened and a dignified middle-aged man walked in. Behind him was a girl with delicate features, the top student in my grade, Su Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu? What are you doing here? I asked with a grin. I came with my uncle, she said, looking surprised to see me. The man beside her looked at me with genuine admiration. So you're the classmate she mentioned. A true young hero. I'm Xiaoyu's uncle, Zhou Cheng. Heh, Uncle Zhou, you have a good eye for talent, I said, shaking his hand. I heard you successfully brewed 4 batches of strength potion in a single afternoon, Zhou Cheng said, his voice full of wonder. I waved it off with a look of total indifference. Just basic stuff. Nothing special. Everyone in the room had the same thought. Damn, he's actually pulling this off. I could see the envy in their eyes, but I didn't care. I let the silence hang for a moment, enjoying the look of pure shock on their faces. After a while, Zhou Cheng finally spoke up. Since that's the case, you'll be the only one handling the strength potions for now, he said. However, the company can only provide 3 sets of materials per day. I frowned slightly. 3 sets? That seemed low for a big company. Zhou Cheng explained that the main ingredient, the strength flower, was harvested from a specific spatial dimension. Even a major player in Nanjiang City like 666 Pharmaceuticals didn't have the status to buy them in bulk. 3 flowers a day was their absolute limit. Besides, they produced all kinds of medicine. They couldn't sink all their capital into just one product. No problem, I said, nodding. 3 sets of materials meant I could pocket an extra 24 bottles of strength potion for myself using my system. That was a daily income of 100,000 Huaxia coins. I was basically earning as much as a high-level pharmacist now. Good, Zhou Cheng said, a smile spreading across his face. I'll double your daily wage, and you'll be paid at the end of every shift. He was looking at me like I was a gold mine, paying me 60,000 a month to get hundreds of thousands in return. For a businessman, that was a steal. Little Chun, have you thought about becoming a professional pharmacist? Zhou Cheng asked, his voice full of anticipation. The company can hire you long-term. I guarantee the benefits will satisfy you. As he spoke, a system prompt flickered in front of my eyes. Option 1. Agree to Zhou Cheng's offer and become a dedicated pharmacist. Reward. Unlock the full alchemical encyclopedia. Penalty. Your contracted beast will disappear. Option 2. Tactfully refuse and remain determined to be a beast tamer. Reward. A medium boost to spirit power. I didn't even have to think about it. I chose the second option instantly. Sure, the first reward was tempting. I'd become the world's greatest alchemist overnight. But what was the point? At the end of the day, pharmacists were just support staff for beast tamers. Uncle Zhou, my journey lies in the stars and the sea, I said, giving him a firm refusal. Zhou Cheng laughed. Ambitious? Well, if you ever change your mind, our doors are always open. We shook hands. He turned to Su Xiaoyu, who was still standing there looking stunned. Xiaoyu, I didn't realize your school had such talent. You should talk to Qin Shu more and learn a thing or two about alchemy. Even though I'd turned him down, He was clearly trying to keep me close. He knew a cash cow when he saw one. It's time to clock out, he added. Do you kids need a ride? No thanks, I replied. I'm walking with a friend. All right then. Xiaoyu, walk your classmate out. Once Zhou Cheng left the lab, Su Xiaoyu started sizing me up again. There was a new look in her eyes. Actual admiration. She was the top student in our grade, destined for the prestigious Huaxiao Academy, but she knew nothing about alchemy. Most university graduates didn't even have the practical skills I'd shown today. You're so young, she whispered, her curiosity getting the better of her. How did you learn to brew like that? Well, I said as we walked toward the exit, it all started when I was a kid. It was a dark, stormy day. The clouds were heavy, the wind was howling. I was just walking down the street, minding my own business, eating a bag of spicy strips. I paused for dramatic effect, looking into the distance as if recalling a sacred memory. Suddenly, the sky split open. A golden dragon emerged from the clouds, its mouth big enough to swallow a football stadium. I looked up, our eyes met, and the dragon actually spoke to me. I gulped, stopping the story right there. And? Su Xiaoyu asked, leaning in. What did it say? I'll remember its words for the rest of my life, I said, pressing the button for the elevator. It shouted, Incredible! Young man, I see a glow emanating from your skull. You are a once-in-a-10,000-year genius. I have a priceless book of alchemy here. Since we are destined to meet, I'll sell it to you for only $10. The silence that followed was deafening. Su Xiaoyu stared at me, her face turning a deep shade of, I can't believe I fell for this. So you spent $10, bought the book, and suddenly you were a master? She asked, her voice flat. Do you think I'm stupid? I shot back. I questioned him immediately. Who sells a priceless book for $10? But the dragon just roared at me. You think I'm a scammer? We intellectuals have integrity. Su Xiaoyu rubbed her temples. My head hurts. My head actually hurts. It's true. I was that dragon, a voice boomed from across the lobby. I looked over to see Zhang Dali, dressed in his security uniform, walking toward us with a dead serious expression. Chenpai, I didn't think you'd remember. By the way, when are you going to give me that $10 back? Heaven help me, Su Xiaoyu muttered. She turned on her heel and bolted for the exit. She probably thought if she stayed with us any longer, she'd lose her mind too. How was the interview, Chenpai? Dali asked. I cleared my throat, adjusting my collar. From now on, you can call me by my other name, Master Alchemist Chun. That's my boy. We grabbed a massive dinner in the city center before I finally headed home. When I walked through the front door, I remembered something. I pulled a thick stack of cash out of my bag and dropped it on the table. Mom, Dad, I forgot to mention this. The bureau gave me a $100,000 reward. My father, Chen Ping, didn't look happy. He didn't even look at the money. He just frowned. Son, what did you do? I explained the whole situation with the mugging. My parents finally exhaled, but their faces remained stern. Don't ever do that again, my dad warned. A criminal with a $100,000 bounty is a murderer. That's not something a student should be messing with. I nodded repeatedly, expecting them to take the money. Instead, they pushed it back toward me. The family doesn't need this right now, Dad said. You're training your spirit power. Use it to buy whatever potions you need. If it's not enough, tell me. I stared at them, my eyes wide. Wait, Dad, am I actually a rich heir or something? 100,000 was a fortune for a normal family like ours, yet they didn't even blink. Don't worry about it, he said, offering no further explanation. We just don't need it. I took the money back to my room, my mind racing. There was definitely a secret here. I remembered how Zhang Dali, a black iron rank beast tamer, always called my dad Brother Chun, with zero ego. There had to be a reason for that level of respect. I shook my head. If there was a secret, my dad would tell me when I was ready. For now, I had work to do. I lined up the 40 bottles of strength potion I'd smuggled home on my desk. At 5,000 coins a bottle, I was looking at a small fortune. Wealth had never felt so easy. Those 40 bottles of strength potion were worth $20,000. I just hoped they wouldn't let me down. With a single thought, I summoned Little Yellow. The golden slime appeared in my arms, wiggling and rubbing against me with total devotion. Even though its potential was only level 1, its obedience was incredibly high, sitting at over 80%. I started cracking open the bottles one by one. I lined them up on the desk and began feeding them to little Yellow. The strength potion is designed to permanently increase a contracted beast's power, but a single bottle only offers a tiny boost, about 0.5%. Little Yellow opened its mouth wide and gulped down all 40 bottles without hesitation. It let out a long, satisfied burp and started bouncing around the room with newfound energy. It might be weak for now, but man, my slime could eat. I rubbed its squishy head before recalling it into the beast space. Those 40 bottles had granted it a permanent 20% strength increase. In a real fight, that was enough to give us a serious edge. They say money can't buy everything, but in this world, the pressure of a pay-to-win player is very real. However, I hit a limit. A beast can only gain a maximum of 20% strength from low-grade potions before developing a resistance. To go higher, I'd need mid-grade potions. If I hadn't unlocked the alchemy skill, buying 40 bottles would have cost me $200,000. A normal family could never afford that. And that was just for strength. When you factored in speed and defense potions, the cost became terrifying. Even in this new world, the gap between the rich and the poor remained an unbridgeable chasm. Wealthy tamers had beasts that were simply on another level. That's why everyone was obsessed with dimensional spaces. It was the only way a commoner could strike it rich and afford these upgrades. Over the next 3 days, I didn't do anything else. I moved back and forth between my home and the company. On the second day, I successfully brewed 3 batches, netting me 24 bottles of strength potion. By the third day, I had unlocked the recipe for mid-grade strength potions. I wanted to brew a batch immediately, but the recipe required 2 strength flowers. Since I didn't have them, I settled for brewing more low-grade batches. By the time my 3-day break was over, I had 48 bottles of potion sitting in my system space. It was a productive holiday. I finished my daily shifts at the company in record time. While other alchemists struggled all day, I finished my 3 daily refinements in less than an hour. With time to kill, I decided to head to the black market. I flagged down a taxi. A man was already sitting in the front seat, but I didn't mind sharing. "Master, can you take me to the black market?" I asked. The driver looked at me with total confusion. "The market? There's a public restroom right up the street, kid. You don't need to go all the way to the black market for that." I blinked, realizing he thought I was using some kind of weird slang for needing a bathroom. "No, I mean the actual black market. Is it on the way?" "Oh, right, yeah, it's on the way," the driver said, finally catching on. "This passenger is dropping off just before there anyway." An hour later, I arrived at 7-Star Street. Even during the day, the black market was buzzing with people, just as crowded as the city center. I stood near the entrance, feeling a bit stuck. Without Su Xiaoyu to lead the way, getting in wasn't going to be easy. Then, I saw a man walking confidently toward the gate. "Hey, old Zhang. Long time no see." I grinned, stepping up and throwing an arm around his shoulder like we were best friends. The man, Zhang Ming, looked at me with utter bewilderment. "Who are you?" "It's me, old Chun. You forgot. We were drinking together just the other day." I acted as natural as possible, walking him right through the entrance. "Oh, old Chun. Right." Zhang Ming played along, even though I could tell he was still confused. "How have you been lately?" I suppressed a smirk. He was a pretty good actor himself. "Same as always. Let's catch up later. I've got to run." I turned and vanished into the crowd, leaving a very baffled Zhang Ming standing in the wind. I skipped the street stalls and walked straight into one of the established shops. When I asked about selling my potions, the clerk offered me 3,000 per bottle. I couldn't believe it. 3,000? You sell these for 5,000. That's a total ripoff. "Look, yours have the 666 pharmaceutical company logo," the clerk said calmly. "They're official goods. If they were black goods with no labels, I'd only give you 1,500. "You guys are ruthless," I muttered. "Fine. Do you have strength flowers?" "Yeah, 20,000 each. We have 4 in stock." "Give me materials for 4 batches of mid-grade strength potion then," I said. Between the flowers and the supplementary herbs, it came to $100,000. The clerk looked at me skeptically. "That's a lot of money. You got that kind of cash?" I didn't say a word. I just pulled 48 bottles of strength potion out of my bag and lined them up on the counter. The clerk's eyes nearly popped out of his head. "Holy, Did you rob the 666 pharmaceutical warehouse? I'm a law-abiding citizen. Thank you very much, I snapped. Just give me the materials and the rest in cash. He nodded quickly. In the black market, they didn't care where the goods came from. He swept up my potions and handed over 4 sets of materials plus $44,000 in change. As I was about to leave, I saw him take my potions and immediately put them on the shelf with a $5,000 price tag. Could you at least wait until I leave to flip them? I sighed. If I had an alchemist license, I could sell these at a regular pharmacy for a much better price. I really needed to look into getting a street vendor permit for the black market so I could cut out the middleman. Still, 4 sets of materials could produce about 26 mid-grade potions. The value would double instantly. The shop was a rip-off, but I was still coming out on top. Now, I just needed a quiet place to work. The black market was too loud and crowded. I looked around and my eyes landed on a sign. The public restroom. I walked in and waited until a stall opened up. Once I was locked inside, I started laying out the herbs on the floor. It wasn't glamorous, but it was time to get to work. The recipe for the mid-grade strength potion appeared in my mind like a digital blueprint. I didn't hesitate. I triggered the system's auto-crafting mode. Suddenly, my body wasn't my own. It felt like a world-class master alchemist had stepped into my skin and taken the controls. My hands moved with terrifying precision, dropping herbs into the container in a perfect sequence. I was a machine. There was no room for error. The difficulty for mid-grade potions was significantly higher. It took 20 minutes of intense focus, but finally, the first batch was done. 13 bottles of glowing liquid sat on the floor. A notification pinged in my head. Craft this 10 times to unlock the high-grade strength potion recipe. I was 1/10 of the way there. I immediately started the second batch. Outside my stall, the rest of the world was still moving. A young man rushed into the restroom, clutching his stomach, his face pale with desperation. He checked the doors. Every single stall was occupied. He stood there, legs crossed, trembling as he fought a losing battle against his own digestive system. He couldn't wait any longer. He looked at my stall door, took a deep breath, and decided to climb up to see if anyone was actually in there. He pulled himself up, peeked over the top, and froze. His eyes went wide. He looked like he'd just seen a ghost. Holy crap, he whispered, his voice cracking. Someone is making medicine in the toilet. His scream broke the silence. Within seconds, a crowd of curious people gathered outside my stall. They thought he was joking. They thought he was crazy. Who in their right mind would perform alchemy in a public restroom? One by one, they jumped up to peek over the partition. The poor guys in the other 2 stalls were terrified, seeing random heads popping over the walls every few seconds. But when the crowd saw me, the mockery turned into awe. He's actually doing it, someone whispered. Look at his hands. They're so steady. This guy is a genius. Or a lunatic. Maybe both. I ignored them all. I kept my back to the door, focused entirely on the bottles. 20 minutes later, I finished the second batch. I now had 26 bottles of mid-grade strength potion tucked away. Once little Yahello reached level 4, these would turn him into a monster. With the system's help, I could turn a common slime into a god. I stood up and swung the door open. 10 people were standing there, staring at me like I was a freak show. He's out. The toilet alchemist is out. I felt a surge of awkwardness, but then the system chimed in with 3 options. Option 1, run away immediately. Reward, a small boost to my contract spirit power. Option 2, admit everything and announce my name to become famous. Reward, 1 bottle of high-grade strength potion. Option 3, smile wickedly and drink the potion in front of everyone. Reward, a massive amount of beast tamer power. I didn't even have to think about it. I needed that power. I looked at the crowd and pulled out a container filled with pale yellow liquid. The setting, the color, and the smell of the restroom all combined into one very disgusting mental image for the spectators. Anyone want a taste? I asked, holding the bottle out. It's free. The crowd scrambled backward like I was holding a live grenade. They looked at the yellow liquid with pure horror. Is that what I think it is? Someone gagged. I didn't say another word. I gave them a sharp, mysterious smile, tilted my head back, and downed the entire bottle in one go. It tasted slightly sweet, actually. Since it was meant for battle beasts, it didn't have much physical effect on me, but the system reward was instantaneous. The crowd stood there, paralyzed by the sheer audacity of what they'd just seen. I tucked the empty bottle into my bag and walked through the crowd. They parted like the Red Sea. Nobody dared to touch me. I walked out of that restroom with the confidence of a king. By the time I left the black market, I was trending. People had recorded my back and posted the videos online with titles like Public Restroom Alchemist, Genius, or Madman, and the most disgusting potion ever made. I didn't care about the fame. The system reward had flooded my body with energy, pushing me straight to level 3. I had gone from a level 0 loser to a level 3 beast tamer in a single week. In my class, I wasn't the bottom of the barrel anymore. The sun was setting as I hopped on my bike and started the ride home. I felt great. I even thought about Zhang Dali. He had given up on his security guard job after only 2 days. He was a rich kid just playing at life, but I was playing for keeps. I hummed a song to myself as I pedaled. Today was a good day. Everything was finally falling into place. I hummed a song as I pedaled my bike, feeling the cool night air on my face. Before long, I reached that same dark intersection where the mugging had happened. I glanced toward the alley, wondering if lightning would strike twice. It did. Suddenly, the darkness shattered. A black shadow lunged out of the alleyway. It was a black snake, about half a meter long, moving with terrifying speed. Its eyes glowed with a cold, venomous light as it bared its fangs, aiming straight for my throat. "What the hell?" I shouted, slamming on my brakes. Behind a large tree at the corner, a man stepped out. He looked to be in his late 20s, his face twisted into a cruel sneer. This was Wu Li. He was a social beast tamer who had never made it past level 4 because of his poor talent, so he spent his time doing dirty work for rich kids like Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi had paid him to teach me a lesson before the college entrance exams. He had spotted me at the black market earlier and followed me all the way here. He knew he couldn't kill me in a civilized society, but he figured a week or 2 in the hospital would do the trick. The black venomous snake lunged, its jaws wide. "Little yellow now," I barked. A flash of bright yellow erupted in the darkness. The ground groaned. A massive, round shape materialized out of thin air, dropping from the sky like a falling boulder. Boom. The earth literally trembled. Wu Li stared, his jaw hitting the floor. "What in the world is that?" he gasped. He knew my beast was a golden slime, but the report said it had 0 combat power. He wasn't prepared for a 2-meter-wide, 500-pound sphere of golden jelly to fall from the heavens. His black snake didn't stand a chance. It was pinned flat against the pavement, blood spraying from its mouth as its internal organs were crushed under the sheer weight. Even though it was a level 4 beast, it was built for speed and poison, not for surviving a half-ton body slam. Between the system's defense boosts and my gigantification skill, Little Yellow was a tank. "You bastard," I snapped, my blood boiling. "You think you can just ambush me?" I was usually the one doing the ambushing. Getting a taste of my own medicine didn't sit well with me. "Flatten him, Little Yellow." The slime bounced in place, vibrating with excitement. The snake let out a muffled, agonizing hiss, unable to move an inch. Wu Li panicked. He could feel his connection to his beast fading. If the snake died, his career as a beast tamer was over. "Return," he yelled, recalling the mangled snake into his spirit space. He turned tail and tried to bolt into the shadows. He thought he could just walk away. "Oh no you don't," I grinned. I might have a weird way of doing things, but I wasn't an idiot. I had been watching his every move. Use impact. Little Yellow's eyes narrowed. Its body shuddered, then it launched itself like a golden cannonball. Wu Li felt the wind rush behind him. He turned his head just in time to see a wall of yellow slamming into his chest. Crack. He flew several meters through the air before hitting a tree with a sickening thud. He slumped to the ground, groaning in pain. I walked over and looked down at him. I had told Little Yellow to hold back just enough to keep him alive. Killing him would bring the Bureau of Beast Tamers down on my head, and I wasn't ready for prison. "Who sent you?" I asked, leaning over him. Wu Li just groaned, clutching his ribs. He wouldn't talk. "I know you," I said, bluffing with a confident smirk. "Zhongnen sent you, didn't he?" "How did you know?" Wu Li blurted out. He realized his mistake instantly and bit his tongue, but it was too late. "I didn't. I was just guessing. I laughed. Get lost. I hopped back on my bike and pedaled away, leaving him to crawl to the hospital. When I got home, I gave little Yellow a good rub on its head. It had done well. At level 3, it was already holding its own against level 4 beasts. Once it hit level 4, with the 26 bottles of strength potion I had stored in my system space, it was going to be unstoppable. The next morning, I walked into school feeling like a champion. But something was off. People were whispering. They were pointing at me and then looking at their phones. As soon as I stepped into the classroom, the entire room went silent. Every single eye was on me. I crossed my arms, feeling defensive. What? Is there something on my face? My classmate, Wang Ming, shoved his phone under my nose. Chinshu, is this really you? I looked at the screen. It was a photo of a guy in a yellow hoodie, crouching in a dark, grimy bathroom stall. The lighting was terrible, and there was a cartoon alpaca printed on the back of the hoodie. Yeah, that's me, I said, looking down at the exact same alpaca on my chest. So what? Dude, you're famous, Wang Ming said, his eyes wide. They're calling you the public restroom alchemist. The video of you drinking that yellow liquid is everywhere. I scrolled through the comments. Is this the legendary epic grade potion? One person asked. Another wrote, art comes from life, but this guy's life belongs in a sewer. Brother, another student asked, leaning in close. Were you really using stuff from the toilet to make medicine? My face twitched. I was making potions, not fertilizer. It was a legitimate alchemical process. Before I could dig myself into a deeper hole, the bell rang. Our teacher, Fong Ku, walked in, adjusting his glasses. He gave me a look that was somewhere between pity and confusion. He had seen the photos too. With me, the most absurd things somehow felt normal. All right, settle down, Fong Ku said, his voice serious. The seniors might be graduating, but you aren't. Finals are coming up. And I have some news about who will qualify for the elite training class next year. The announcement hit the classroom like a physical wave. Our teacher, Fong Ku, adjusted his glasses and dropped the bombshell. This semester's final exam results would determine everything. For us students in the preparatory class, these scores were the only ticket into the senior year elite training class. Everyone knew what that meant. The high school formed these elite classes to groom top-tier talents for the country's best universities. If you made the cut, the school covered all your resources. In a world where being a beast tamer cost a fortune, that was a dream come true. For us, the elite class was the Dragon Gate. If you jumped over it, your future was set. Teacher, don't they usually form the elite class in the second half of senior year? Wang Ming asked, sounding worried. Fong Ku sighed, his expression heavy. Our school's performance in the National College Entrance Exam was terrible this year. We're at risk of falling out of the city's top 3. When a school's ranking drops, the Ministry of Education cuts resources. Just the monthly cost of beast food is a massive burden the school can't carry alone. To save our reputation, the school decided to form the elite class early. He looked toward the top students in our class. This final exam is the primary metric. Whether you get in depends on these grades. Beside me, Xia Bing and Wang Ming straightened their backs, their eyes burning with competitive fire. The elite class only took the top 20 students in the entire grade. Currently, only Xia Bing had a guaranteed spot. For everyone else, it was going to be a brutal climb. Teacher, we'll work hard, I shouted, feeling a sudden surge of motivation. Fong Ku looked at me and gave a weary smile. It's good that you have the spirit, Chinshu. Don't worry about the result too much. As long as you try your best, that's enough. I frowned. I hadn't even started showing off yet, and he was already acting like I'd failed. Xia Bing, Wang Ming, Li Zixuan, come with me, Fong Ku called out. The rest of you, self-study. He led the 3 top students out, clearly intending to give them a private pep talk. Our class, Class 5, was known as the worst in the grade, but these 3 were our only hope for the elite class. I shook my head, watching them leave. Old Fong was clueless. He had no idea a rising star was sitting right here in the back row. I yawned, planning to catch a nap, when a sharp voice barked from the doorway. Chinshu, come to the office. Now. I stood up, confused. It was Mr. Yan, our spirit history teacher. He was a stiff, old-fashioned man who terrified most of the students. I followed him into the office, where Fangke was already standing with the 3 top students. Qinshu, why are you here? Fangke asked, his eyebrow twitching. It felt like I followed him everywhere. Mr. Yin called me, I said, walking over to the desk. Fangke looked at the history teacher. Did he get into trouble again? Mr. Yan's face was dark, like a storm cloud about to burst. He cheated on his history quiz. The room went quiet. Cheating was a serious offense. If they pushed it, I could be looking at a major disciplinary mark on my record. Cheating. Fangke's expression hardened. Qinshu, what happened? I cheated. I blinked, genuinely stunned. Is there a mistake? Still acting, are you? Mr. Yin said. Yin slammed a test paper onto the desk. There was no score on it, but every single answer was perfect. Not a single mistake. But the name at the top said Qinshu, the same Qinshu who had ranked dead last in the monthly exams. Explain this, Mr. Yin demanded. How did you go from last place to a perfect score in 1 week? Suddenly, a transparent screen flickered in front of my eyes. Option 1, admit to it. Say, I'm only 17. What's wrong with a little cheating? Reward, small amount of beast taming power. Option 2, deny the cheating. Reward, advanced knowledge of high school beast taming materials. The choice was obvious. I threw my hands up and spoke with righteous indignation. I, Qinshu, would rather starve to death or stay in last place than ever stoop to cheating. Fangke's forehead creased with frustration. You're really laying it on thick, aren't you? Teachers, I really didn't cheat, I said, sighing. If you need a reason for the score, it's talent. Unparalleled, 1 in a million talent. All right, enough, Fangke cut me off. He actually didn't believe I cheated, but not because he trusted my character. He figured a guy who was brave enough to turn in a paper with a score of 16 wasn't the type to care about grades enough to cheat. Mr. Yin, if you don't believe me, test me, I challenged. Ask me anything about history. I know it all. I couldn't exactly tell them about the system, so I had to prove it the hard way. Mr. Yin, still skeptical, picked up the test paper. When did the first unstable dimension appear in our country, and how was it suppressed? Year 5 of the recovery era, I answered instantly. The beasts inside were dark attribute. The 300 strongest people in the country at the time joined forces to suppress the riot. Mr. Yan's eyes widened slightly. He tried again. When did the most dangerous dimension appear? Year 380, I replied. The Dragon's Nest in Huayuan Province. It's still the most dangerous one today. The beasts there have dragon bloodlines, and the First Spirit Army is currently stationed there to guard it. What was the most critical moment in our history? Year 625, I said, my voice steady. 12 dimensions rioted simultaneously. Countless beasts invaded. The war lasted 12 years with massive casualties across all legions before the chaos was finally quelled. The office went silent. The top students were staring at me like I was an alien. I was supposed to be the class loser, but here I was, answering questions like a walking textbook. I looked at Fangke and gave him a confident smirk. I wanted to keep a low profile, but I guess the secret is out. Fangke stared at me for a long time. I believe you for now. Mr. Yin nodded slowly, his skepticism finally fading into a begrudging respect. Yin wasn't done. He kept firing questions at me, partly to verify my claim and partly to see how much I actually knew. Fangke eventually turned his attention back to the 3 top students. To him, history was just one subject. The final exam involved much more than just memorizing dates. He cleared his throat, trying to regain the serious atmosphere. The Dragon Gate is right in front of you, he told the 3 elites, his voice rising with passion. You must treat this as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The glory of Class 5 rests on your shoulders. The 3 students looked inspired, their faces flushing with the weight of the responsibility. I leaned back and ruined the moment. Let's be real. If even one of us gets in, I'd call that a success. Fangke's face turned red with rage. Qinshu, get out. Fine, I muttered, turning back to Mr. Yin to continue our history discussion. I'm going. Fangke sighed, rubbing his temples. He just wanted one normal day. Fangke's anger seemed to drain away, replaced by a heavy sigh. He looked at the 3 elite students and softened his voice. He told them they all had a real shot, but time was running out. There were only 20 days left until the final exams. Their written scores were fine, but the beast taming category was the real hurdle. He urged them to buy as many potions as they could afford. He even suggested checking the black market for high-quality resources. In Nanjiang City, only one official shop was authorized to sell top-tier evolutionary materials, and the government backing meant prices were astronomical and supply was non-existent. Fangke knew the black market was a gamble, but it was their only hope to boost their scores and climb the rankings. Li Zixuan and Meng Meng both nodded, their faces set with determination. They knew it would cost their families a fortune, but their parents could handle it for the sake of their futures. Everyone at the top of the grade was doing the same, desperate for a spot in the Senior 3 special training class. Only Xia Bing stayed silent. He looked troubled, his lips pressed into a thin line. Fangke noticed and asked if something was wrong, since Xia Bing was his star pupil. Xia Bing just shook his head and didn't offer an explanation. Fangke didn't push it. He dismissed the three of them back to class. By then, I had finished my chat with Mr. Yen. The old history teacher looked incredibly satisfied. I had clearly won him over. I turned to Fangke and asked if he had any words of encouragement for me. He just shook his head. He told me that as long as I didn't drop further in the rankings, he'd be happy. Then he remembered something and warned me not to embarrass the school. The leadership was furious about recent exam failures and planned to crack down on bottom-tier students. If I didn't perform, I'd be kicked back to the regular class to keep the Beast Tamer class's passing rate high. I just waved him off and headed back to my seat. Bottom of the class? Not in this lifetime. I spent the rest of the day absorbing the massive influx of knowledge about beast materials the system had shoved into my brain. I saw visions of rare herbs and strange minerals from other dimensions, their shapes, their growth cycles, and their hidden effects. The world was far more mysterious than I had realized, and this was just high school level stuff. When the final bell rang, I stretched and prepared to head home. That's when Zhang Dali walked in. I was surprised to see him since regular students usually had mandatory evening self-study sessions. He told me he was skipping because he was starving and demanded I buy him dinner. I didn't mind. I still had that 100,000 yuan reward from the Public Security Bureau tucked in my bag. We hit the local snack street, stuffing ourselves until 7 in the evening. As we pedaled our bikes back toward our apartment complex, I slammed on my brakes in front of a shop called the Beast Home. These places were everywhere, staffed by professional breeders who designed custom growth plans and diets for contract spirits. It was a service for the rich. Nearby, a small crowd had gathered. 2 men in black suits were cornering a beautiful young woman. One of them had his arms crossed, his voice cold and demanding. He wanted to know when she was going to pay back what she owed. The girl, Wang Qinghan, stood her ground but remained silent. She owed them 100,000 yuan. She told them she didn't have it all yet, but would pay them back soon. A little girl, maybe 10 years old, ran up and grabbed Wang Qinghan's hand, asking when they could go home. Wang Qinghan was an intern at the shop, and while she made decent money, she had spent every cent and taken out loans to pay for her sister's awakening ceremony. It was the only way to ensure the kid had a chance at a high-potential spirit, but the cost was ruinous. One of the men reached out to pat the little girl's head, but Wang Qinghan snapped, blocking him. She told them to leave her sister out of it. The man just sneered. He threatened that if she didn't pay, he'd use an eraser to rub out all of her sister's homework. It was a bizarrely petty threat, but his tone was menacing. Suddenly, a man with a buzz cut stepped out from under a tree, smoking a cigarette. He slapped the 2 goons upside the head, calling them useless. He turned to Wang Qinghan and told her the debt had risen to 200,000 with interest. He demanded 30,000 a month, knowing exactly what her salary was. Dolly and I parked our bikes. Suddenly, 3 options flashed before my eyes. Option 1. Cover my eyes, walk past them, and mutter, I didn't see anything for a skill book called Violent Execution. Option 2. Help the girl for a boost in beast power. Option 3. Join the thugs for a blackened trait that would make my slime evil. I didn't hesitate. I started walking toward the group. Dolly panicked, whispering that those guys looked dangerous and we should stay out of it. I didn't say a word. I just kept moving. Dolly sighed, rolled up his sleeves, and followed me, ready for a fight. The buzz-cut man saw us approaching and squared his shoulders, sensing trouble. The air grew tense. The thugs braced themselves to swing. Then, right as I reached them, I clamped my hands over my eyes. I didn't see anything. I muttered loudly. I didn't see anything. The entire street went silent. The buzzcut man's face twitched. He looked at me like I was a complete lunatic. Dolly froze, his jaw dropping. He thought I was going to be a hero, not a weirdo. Wang Qinghan just stared, completely speechless at the bizarre display. A notification popped up. The skill book, Violent Execution, had been added to my inventory. My goal was achieved. I didn't waste a second. I turned tail and sprinted away as fast as my legs could carry me. Dolly scrambled to keep up, leaving the thugs standing there in total confusion. I think we just got played, one of the thugs muttered, his voice sounding weirdly uncertain. What do you mean, think? The buzzcut leader snapped, his face twisting in fury. We definitely got played. Remember those two. If I ever see them again, I'm going to poke their eyes out for real. Meanwhile, Dolly and I had sprinted a safe distance away. Dolly stopped, doubled over, and wheezing for air. Chen Shu, I swear, your mental illness is getting worse. What the hell was that? You don't understand, I said, catching my breath. I have my reasons. People could cry and beg for a lifetime and never have their contract spirit learn a new skill. I had just earned one effortlessly. I opened my inventory and looked at the skill book, Violent Execution. It allowed the spirit to leap high into the air and crush the enemy's head with its body. The damage was directly tied to the spirit's size. For my golden slime, this was a godsend. I didn't let Chen Shu, the man I used to be, risk his neck for nothing. I tapped the skill book, and instantly, little Yahello learned it. My slime's combat power spiked. It was a productive day. Feeling great, I stopped at a street stall and bought a massive bag of grilled skewers for a late-night snack. Dolly and I split up, heading back to our respective homes. Back in my room, I kicked back, scrolling through my phone while tearing into the skewers. It was pure bliss. On Weibo, news about the mysterious alchemist was spreading like wildfire. My alpaca t-shirt had become an overnight sensation. Someone was even offering 10,000 yuan just to buy the same shirt. What a crazy world, I sighed. I realized I'd have to bury that shirt at the bottom of my closet. I like keeping a low profile. If I became famous, how was I supposed to pull off sneak attacks? Luckily, all the photos online were of my back. Not a single person had captured my face, probably because my majestic display of chugging that potion had intimidated them too much to get close. After surfing the web for a while, I yawned. Then I remembered something. I opened a chat window with Fong Si and typed quickly, "Sister Fong Si, I went to the hospital to check on my legs today." Ding ding. She replied almost instantly. She must have been on her phone. What happened? Did you get into a fight? Is your leg okay? Her voice in the text sounded genuinely concerned. The nurses had already clocked out, I replied. There were no legs left to look at. Chen Shu, are you tired of living? In a dorm at the Huaxiao Academy, Fong Si was lying on her bed, gritting her teeth. This kid really needed a beating. Sister Fong Si, who are you thinking about now? A girl with straight bangs asked from the opposite bunk. Fong Si was known for her fiery temper and her short, heroic-looking hair. Nobody, just a little brother of mine, Fong Si muttered. Ding ding, my message popped up again. Sister Fong Si, how's the environment at Huaxiao Academy? I'm planning to head over there next year. To do what? The school doesn't need any more security guards for now. I rolled my eyes. Do I look like a security guard? That's Zhang Dali's job. I'm coming to study. Cut the crap, she replied. Just focus on your cultural exams and get into a normal university. Once you're in the city, I'll look after you. Nobody will dare mess with you too. Fong Si didn't know I had transferred to the Beast Tamer class. I didn't correct her. I wanted to be the blockbuster that caught everyone by surprise. We ended the chat, and I headed to the bathroom to wash up. As I climbed into bed, the familiar system prompt appeared, sleep or cultivate. I chose sleep without a second thought. As I drifted off, a surge of beast power flowed into my body automatically. At this rate, I'd hit level 4 in no time. The next day at school was quiet. The history and materials teachers both called me out to praise my progress. But as school let out in the afternoon, Xia Bing walked over to me, looking conflicted. Chen Shu, can I borrow some money? She asked softly, her head bowed in embarrassment. I froze. Someone was actually asking me for money? Suddenly, the options flashed in my vision. Option 1. Be generous. Say, we're friends, don't be a stranger. How much do you need? Reward, a small amount of beast power. Option 2. Shake my head wildly and say, I have money, but I'm not lending it. Reward, golden slime size increases by 10%. Option 3. Look at the sky at a 45-degree angle and say, talking about money hurts our feelings. Reward, berserk potion. Option 4. Pat my chest heroically and say, as a friend, I'll lend it, but there's interest. Reward, high school beast taming geography knowledge. I hesitated. The first option was a waste. I wasn't a charity. The fourth option was the most useful. If I could ace my cultural subjects, I had a real shot at the elite training class. I'll lend it to you, I said, patting my chest. But the interest will be double the bank's rate. Xiaobing looked up and agreed immediately. She was a proud person. Asking for help was hard enough. If I didn't charge interest, she probably would have felt too guilty to take it. How much? I asked. 100,000 yuan, she whispered. I choked on my own spit, coughing violently. Sister, did you do a background check on my bank account? Why do you need that much? I'm about to break through to level 6, Xiaobing said plainly. I want to go to the black market and buy a mid-grade beast pearl. I was impressed. Level 6 was extremely rare for our grade. That would put her in the top 10 and guarantee her a spot in the elite class. Fine, I'll lend it. But I have one condition. I paused, a weird smile creeping onto my face. Xiaobing flinched. What condition? You have to write an essay praising me. No less than 2,000 words. It has to be sincere, emotional, and heart-wrenching. Give it to me tomorrow. Xiaobing stared at me. What kind of ridiculous request was that? Don't look at me like that. This should be easy for a top student like you, I said with a grin. Silence means consent. I pulled the 100,000 yuan from my bag. Then, I pulled out a small white pearl. This is the low-grade beast pearl you gave me last time. Take it too. It's useless to me. For others, a pearl required days of meditation to refine. For me, cultivation was impossible. I relied entirely on system rewards to survive. Chin Shu. Even if you don't get into a top university, I hope you take this path seriously, Xiaobing said, her expression grave. She clearly thought I had given up on myself. I know what I'm doing, committee woman. A low-grade pearl is worth 20,000 on the black market, so that's a total of 120,000. Friends are friends, but business is business. Let's sign a promissory note. Once the paper was signed, I felt much better. Thank you, Chin Shu, she said sincerely. We were just students. None of us had a way to make real money. Lending this much was a massive favor. We're classmates, don't mention it. I waved her off. Just remember to pay back the interest. I slung my bag over my shoulder and headed home to rest. Xiaobing headed toward the black market. She had the money now, but beast pearls were rare. Whether she could actually find one would depend on her luck. The days passed by in a blur. I spent most of my time looking for a chance to teach Zheng Yi a lesson. His older brother, Zheng Nan, had tried to send people to mess with me before, but he had already graduated and wasn't around school anymore. That left Zheng Yi as my primary target. The problem was, the guy had become incredibly cautious lately. He never gave me an opening. He was always surrounded by a group of friends, and he wouldn't even go to the bathroom alone. 2 weeks went by. Through the sheer grind of my system rewards, I successfully broke through to become a level 4 beast tamer. Every single point of beast power I gained was hard-earned, making me realize just how difficult this path really was for regular people. During this time, I also completely mastered the high school beast taming curriculum. I didn't make mistakes anymore. In fact, my scores in the cultural subjects had already surpassed the top student in our grade, Su Xiaoyu. One morning, our homeroom teacher, Feng Ku, walked into the classroom with a heavy expression. Students, this year's college entrance exam results are out, he said solemnly. The room went silent. We were less than a year away from our own exams, so everyone was anxious to hear how the seniors had performed. While the beast taming scores were released on the day of the test, the cultural papers took time to grade. The final score was a combination of both. Nanjiang number 2 high ranked 5th overall. Feng Ku continued, his voice low. That's 2 spots lower than last year. Our top student scored 630, which didn't even crack the top 10 in the city. The results were as bad as expected, a total disaster compared to previous years. The school is pinning all its hopes on you, Fonka said, looking around the room. If next year's results are just as disappointing, our school might never recover. This is a lot of pressure, but it's also an opportunity. The school will be pouring resources into your development. He paused for a moment. We have 1 week until the final exams. I hope you all push yourselves. You have the rest of the period for self-study. As soon as he left, my classmates buried their heads in their books. I just yawned. I had already mastered the material. The only thing I needed was to raise my level. I was still a bit away from level 5, and I knew that if I wanted to rank in the top 20 of the grade, level 5 was the bare minimum. As I sat there feeling bored, a familiar glow appeared before my eyes. Option 1. Stay in the classroom and study. Reward, Diligent Scholar title. Effect, plus 20% learning efficiency. Option 2. Leave the classroom for free time. Reward, unlock body size potion in the alchemy compendium. There was no need to think. I stood up and walked out of the classroom with steady steps. Chin Shu, Xia Bing, acting as the class monitor, tried to stop me. But then she remembered the money I had just lent her. Having taken a favor, she couldn't bring herself to scold me, and the words died in her throat. New recipe unlocked, body size potion. I was in a great mood. A simple choice had given me a brand new potion recipe. As I walked past the men's restroom, a chubby little guy with a bruised and swollen face stumbled out. It was Zhou Xiaoming, a former classmate from the ordinary track. Little Zhou, who messed with you? I asked. Brother P. He saw me and immediately started sobbing, trying to wipe his snot and tears on my sleeve. I did a tactical back jump to dodge him. Stay back. Who did this? It was Zhao Qi and Zheng Yi from Beast Class 3, he sniffled. You provoked them? I accidentally peed on them, he muttered, scratching his head. I couldn't help it. I burst out laughing right there in the hallway. I really didn't mean to. Zhou Xiaoming wailed. Brother Pai, I want you to help me get even. My laughter stopped. My mind started racing. Zheng Yi again. Zheng Yi? I know him. He's like a brother to me, my own flesh and blood. Zhou Xiaoming's face fell. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you guys were close. No. I waved my hand, frowning at him. You're not getting it, kid. I cleared my throat and looked him dead in the eye. What I mean is, you're gonna have to pay extra. Zhou Xiaoming froze. Was this what they called brotherly love these days? How much do you want? He was a bit of a pushover at school, but I knew his family was well off. His parents weren't beast tamers, but they owned a medicinal herb shop that sold rare materials, including stuff from the alternate dimensions. Talking about money is so vulgar, I said, a sly smile creeping onto my face. Do I look like that kind of person? I just want to talk business with your family. Business? He asked, confused. Don't worry about it. Just introduce me to them later. I was currently working as a pharmacist at the 666 pharmaceutical company, and I had plenty of strength potions left over. My slime, Little Yellow, couldn't absorb any more, so I needed to sell the surplus to buy other materials. Since I didn't have an official pharmacist license, I couldn't buy materials from the alternate dimensions myself. Zhou Xiaoming's family shop was the perfect solution. I can introduce you, but I can't guarantee they'll agree, Zhou Xiaoming said. Just don't tell my parents I got bullied. You're too soft, I said, patting his shoulder. When something happens, tell your teachers or parents. That's how things get solved. I turned and walked away, already planning my move. I wanted to mess with Zheng Yi anyway, and now I had a reason to be thorough. I headed toward the school playground, hoping to trigger another system option. As I wandered, I heard noise coming from the grand auditorium. Right, today was the day the seniors got their results. Usually, the graduating class would return to school one last time. I walked over and slipped inside. The hall was packed with seniors listening to the principal's speech. He was droning on about bright futures and remembering your roots, even though he was clearly disappointed with their scores. Then, I spotted them. The Zheng brothers were sitting near the back, whispering to each other. They looked shifty, like they were plotting something. I quietly sat down in the row behind them, pretending to tie my shoelace so I could eavesdrop. Brother, you got 590, Zheng Yi whispered. That's definitely enough for a key beast tamer university. It's a shame my cultural scores were off, or I could have aimed for a top-tier prestige school. In our country, universities were ranked as prestige, key, or ordinary. For beast tamers, the quality and quantity of these schools were much higher than for regular students. It was just another reminder that in this new era, beast tamers were the only ones who truly mattered. That's already very good, Zheng Yi said, his voice full of envy. At least you can pick a great major. I know the family will give you all the support you need. Zheng Nan nodded slightly. He looked a bit regretful, but overall, he seemed satisfied with his results. Then his expression shifted, and he looked at his younger brother. By the way, did that kid Qinshu give you any more trouble? No, Zheng Yi muttered, his teeth grinding together. I've been traveling in a group lately. Even if he wanted to do something, he couldn't. I could practically feel the hatred radiating off him. He was clearly still thinking about the time I threw a urea bag over his head. That little stunt had cost him 40,000 yuan in the black market for absolutely nothing. Brother, you're a level 6 beast tamer now. When are you going to teach that brat a lesson? Zheng Nan rubbed his chin, his eyes narrowing in thought. That kid isn't as simple as he looks. He put Wu Li in the hospital with serious injuries. What? Wu Li is a level 4 beast tamer. Zheng Yi gasped. Even if Wu Li's contracted beast only had an F-rank potential, a level 4 tamer should have been able to handle an ordinary person with one hand tied behind his back. Qinshu isn't a level 1, Zheng Nan explained coldly. He's at least level 3. He's been hiding his true strength this whole time. He's a real snake in the grass. I sat behind them, listening to every word. A snake in the grass? I thought. Coming from you, that's a compliment. Zheng Nan was a petty guy. Even though he had just graduated, he couldn't stand anyone crossing him. He wanted to hit me, and he wanted to hit me hard. Suddenly, Zheng Yi stood up. Brother, I'm going to the bathroom. This was a God-given opportunity. I waited a few seconds, then quietly stood up and followed him. My backpack was slightly unzipped, revealing the corner of a familiar blue plastic bag, the one with the word urea printed on the side. Zheng Nan stayed in his seat, his eyes flickering toward me as I walked past. I saw him frown, probably thinking I looked familiar, but he didn't put the pieces together in time. In the bathroom, Zheng Yi was humming a little tune, shaking his head happily while he did his business. He was totally relaxed until he caught a glimpse of a shadow in his peripheral vision. He froze, accidentally splashing his own hand, but he didn't even care. His worst nightmare had returned. Before he could react, I pulled the urea bag over his head and started swinging. Damn it, Qinshu, he screamed, his voice muffled by the plastic. He thrashed around, trying to break free, but I was much stronger than him. It was a total physical mismatch. I started dragging him toward a stall to finish the job, but he wasn't going down without a fight. A skeleton suddenly materialized in the cramped space, clutching a sharp bone blade. Its eye sockets glowed with an eerie green fire. Even though I had Zheng Yi pinned, he could still summon his beast. Kill him, he shrieked. The ground shook. My golden slime, Little Yellow, transformed into a 3-meter-tall giant. With one massive leap, it slammed its heavy rear end right onto the frail skeleton. I heard the sickening crunch of bones snapping. Little Yellow just sat there, looking dazed and sleepy, completely crushing the summon into dust. My beast! Zheng Yi cried out. He was terrified. It had happened so fast, a total one-shot. I dragged him into the stall and locked the door. Help! Somebody help me, he wailed. Go ahead, scream, I said, putting on my best villainous grin. No one is coming to save you. Help! Someone! Help! He actually started screaming at the top of his lungs. I shut him up with a quick punch to the gut. You think you're funny? I hissed. I didn't hold back. I reminded him that sending thugs after me had consequences. By the time I was done, his face was swollen like a balloon. I stood up, dusted off my hands, and walked out of the stall. He was still twitching on the floor, but I knew he'd be fine in a few days. I'm a professional. I know exactly how much force to use. As I stepped out of the bathroom, I ran right into Zheng Nan. He looked frantic. Qinshu, I knew it was you. Oh, hey Nan, I said casually. Long time no see. Why do you look so stressed? Cut the crap. Where's my brother? He looked ready to kill, and he wasn't alone. He had brought 5 guys with him, all looking tough. Your brother? I blinked, acting confused. I think I saw him walk into the ladies' room. Zheng stared at me, then looked toward the stalls. He saw the blue urea bag sticking out from under the last door. Before he could move, my system pinged with a list of options. Option 1. Fight them all and scream, I want to fight 10 people. Reward, 5% strength boost for Little Yellow. Option 2. Use snake-like movement while whispering nonsense. Reward, 5% speed boost for Little Yellow. Option 3. Scream for help. Reward, teleportation potion. Option 4. Talk to the 5 guys and try to become friends. Reward, beast tamer level +1. The choice was easy. I needed that level up. I turned to the 5 guys blocking my way and flashed a warm, friendly smile. I stepped forward and threw an arm around the shoulder of the guy closest to me. Hey man, long time no see. How were your scores? The guy, whose name was Wang Yu, looked completely baffled. Do I know you? It's me, Chen Shu. You forgot already. I frowned, acting offended. Wang Yu shook his head, his brain clearly short-circuiting. Man, your memory is terrible, I sighed, leaning in like we were best friends. Look, Zhongnan and I go way back. We've been friends since we were kids. He acts tough, but it's all just talk. Then why did you beat up his brother? Wang Yu asked, sensing something was off. We were just playing around. I laughed. Zheng Yi is like a little brother to me. If we really had a problem, would I be standing here talking to you so calmly? I would have run away ages ago. I kept the act going, spinning a web of lies so thick they didn't know what to believe. 5 minutes later, Zheng Nin emerged from the stall, dragging his bruised and battered brother out. Chen Shu, you son of a... Zheng Nin started to roar, but he stopped dead. He stared in disbelief. His 5 friends were standing there, laughing and chatting with me like we were old buddies. In just 5 minutes, I had turned his backup into my new best friends. I just smiled at him. It wasn't my fault he picked friends who were so easy to fool. I spun a web of lies so detailed, so full of fake emotion, that it was impossible to find a single crack in the story. My acting skills were on another level. I spoke about the adventures I'd shared with the 2 brothers, my face looking so sincere that even a lie detector would have struggled. Wang Yu, what the hell are you doing? Zheng Nan roared, his face twisted with rage. Brother Nan, calm down, Wang Yu said with a grin. Chen Shu told us everything. It's all cool. Told you everything? Are you kidding me? Zheng Nan's face turned a sickly shade of green. Nan, there's no need for that kind of language, another guy said, frowning. I stepped in like a professional peacemaker. It's okay, guys. Nan is just really committed to the act. We should all be understanding. Let's just take a step back. Nan, don't be mad at your brothers. Zheng Nan looked like his brain was about to short-circuit. He couldn't wrap his head around what was happening. All right, Zheng Yi, stop pretending to be hurt, I said, looking at the bruised brother. Is it really that fun? Zheng Yi looked like he was about to vomit blood. He had just taken a world-class beating, and now I was accusing him of faking it? All right, it was all just a joke, I shouted, waving my hands. Break it up, guys. Nothing to see here. The 5 friends shook their heads and started to walk away, leaving the 2 Zheng brothers standing there in a state of total shock. Chen Shu, you son of a, stop right there. Zheng Nin stepped forward, his eyes burning with fury. You guys head out first, I told the other 5. Nin still hasn't snapped out of his character yet. I'll help him out. Before Zheng Nin could react, I lunged forward, covered his mouth with my hand, and dragged him back into the bathroom stalls. Wait, something's not right, Wang Yu muttered. He looked back and saw Zheng Nin struggling wildly. To the bathroom. Now, someone shouted. Their brains finally clicked into gear. The 5 of them burst back into the bathroom only to find me mid-swing, absolutely pummeling Zheng Nan. Even with Zheng Yi trying to help, the 2 brothers were no match for me. Oh, you guys are back, I asked, my voice perfectly calm. We're just playing around. I'll kill you, Zheng Nan screamed. He was so angry I thought his head might actually start smoking. You dared to play us? Wang Yu growled. He looked at Zheng Nan's swollen, purple face and realized how stupid they'd been. Hey, let's be civilized, I said, backing up. If you guys touch me, I'm going to scream for help. You think you're real tough, don't you? The 5 of them surrounded me, rolling up their sleeves. Wait. Zheng then suddenly stopped them. He knew exactly how loud my voice could be. If I started screaming, half the school would be in here in seconds. He took a deep breath, forcing himself to calm down. Qinshu, you're a beast tamer too. If you've got the guts, meet me in the duel arena. He was thinking ahead. The final exams were coming up. If he could heavily injure my contract beast now, I'd get a 0 on the exam. He figured I was hiding my strength to get into the special training class, and he wanted to crush that dream personally. Suddenly, time slowed down. A familiar screen flickered in front of my eyes. Option 1. Beg for mercy and ask Zheng Nen to let you go. Reward. Title, Cowardly Beggar. Effect. A small chance to make your opponent feel pity while they are beating you. Option 2. Refuse the duel and run out of the bathroom immediately. Reward. Mid-tier beast taming power. Option 3. Accept the duel and win. Reward. Golden Slime learns the talent, Thick Carapace. I didn't hesitate. I needed that defense talent. Besides, thanks to the system's previous rewards, I was already a level 5 beast tamer. Facing a level 6 like Zheng Nen wasn't impossible. Fine, I said, but I need a witness. I don't trust your integrity. You? Talking about integrity. The guys scoffed. It was the funniest thing they'd heard all day. What if you just used the chance to run away? Zheng Nen asked, narrowing his eyes. I, Qinshu, have lived my whole life with honor, I said, looking indignant. Do I look like that kind of person? Yes, Zheng Nen replied flatly. Okay, fair point. If the system hadn't given me a choice, I definitely would have bolted. But a free talent was a free talent. My slime was huge and fought like a tank. A defensive talent was the perfect fit. I'll call a witness myself, I said. I pulled out my phone and dialed a number. Hey, Xiaoyu, come to the duel arena. I need a hand. I knew I needed someone who could actually protect me. Zhang Dali was just a regular guy, and my classmates weren't strong enough to stop these 5 from jumping me after the fight. Su Xiaoyu was a level 7 beast tamer. With her there, I could walk out safely. Let's go, I said, walking out of the bathroom with total confidence. In the main hall, the principal was still giving a boring, long-winded speech. We slipped away quietly and headed to the arena. Su Xiaoyu was already there waiting. She took my safety seriously ever since the incident with the muggers. Xiaoyu, I greeted her with a smile. When Zheng Nan and his crew saw her, they froze. Su Xiaoyu was the top student in the grade. Everyone knew her name and her family's influence. Brother Nan, maybe we should forget it, Wang Yu whispered. They wanted to hurt my slime, but with Su Xiaoyu watching, that seemed impossible. Her A-rank Firebird was not something they wanted to mess with. Zheng Nan stayed silent, his eyes filled with hate. Finally, he shook his head. His family wasn't weak either. He didn't believe Su Xiaoyu would actually start a war over a commoner like me. Let's begin, Zheng Nan said. He summoned his beast. With a flash of light, a hawk with sharp, cyan feathers appeared. It was about half a meter long, with fierce eyes and a piercing cry. A cyan-feathered hawk, Su Xiaoyu muttered, her brow furrowing. She hadn't expected me to be fighting a level 6 opponent with a flying-type beast. I was a bit surprised too. Zheng Yi had a skeleton, but his brother had a hawk? Were they even related? Show me what you've got, Zheng Nan said, his voice dripping with confidence. At low levels, flying beasts had a massive natural advantage. I didn't back down. I summoned my beast. A massive, golden, poop-shaped blob crashed down from the sky, aiming right for the hawk. You sneak, Zheng Nan yelled. The hawk was fast. It beat its wings and narrowly dodged the golden slime. Little Yellow landed heavily on the arena floor. But then, it didn't move. Zzz. Little Yellow's eyes were tightly shut, and a soft snoring sound filled the quiet arena. It was fast asleep. The crowd went silent. I guess it made sense, a weird beast for a weird master. We really were the perfect pair. I focused my mind, sending a silent command to Little Yellow. The golden slime slowly blinked his eyes open, but he still looked half asleep. He even let out a long, wide yawn right in the middle of the arena. The onlookers stared in disbelief. Was this really a combat-contracted beast? It looked more like a lazy pet. Little Yellow started bouncing around, but because he was so heavy, he barely left the ground. He just kept wobbling toward the cyan-feathered hawk in a clumsy attempt at a provocation. It looked like a comedy routine. I sighed inwardly. My sneak attack had failed completely. Zhang Nin didn't waste any time. He commanded his hawk to strike. The bird spread its wings and dived, its sharp talons flashing. In an instant, Little Yellow's defense was shredded. Clear, thick fluid leaked from the wounds. That was his blood. Little Yellow let out a pained cry, his large eyes widening with a look of pure betrayal. But the hawk showed no mercy. It circled back for another strike. Even without special skills, its raw physical stats were enough to crush a slime. That was the reality of potential ratings. High-rank beasts were just built differently. I frowned. A slime fighting a flying type was a disaster waiting to happen. If I wanted to win, I had to play dirty. I sent a new command through our mental link. Little Yellow started moving, but he was too slow. The hawk was a blur, its claws tearing into him again and again. Slime blood stained the arena floor. Little Yellow's movements grew sluggish, his body battered and broken. He looked like he was on the verge of death. My face went pale. I clenched my fists, my voice trembling as I shouted, "Stop! Stop the fight! I give up! I surrender!" Zheng Nan's face twisted into a cruel, satisfied smile. "Idiot," he muttered. He signaled the hawk for a finishing blow. The bird let out a piercing shriek and folded its wings, diving like a missile, its claws glinting with lethal intent. "Lin Yuan, withdraw him. Surrendering isn't enough." Su Xiaoyi screamed. In an official match, the fight only ended when a beast was recalled or forced out of the arena bounds. "Too late," Zheng Nan sneered. The hawk was inches away from the seemingly dying slime. But in that split second, the look of despair on my face vanished, replaced by a cunning grin. Little Yellow suddenly launched himself into the air. He soared 5 meters high, moving with the agility of a professional athlete. There wasn't a trace of injury on him. His acting was so good, he deserved an Oscar. A slime's natural weight and jump height could never reach that peak. This was the power of my violent leap skill. But I wasn't done. While in midair, I triggered the next move. Gigantification. The small blob instantly transformed into a 4-meter-wide golden sphere. It happened so fast the crowd didn't even have time to gasp. The hawk's eyes shrunk in terror. It tried to flap its wings to escape the shadow, but the massive weight was already coming down. Boom. The entire arena shook. The ground vibrated under the impact. "Damn it! You set me up," Zheng Nan screamed, his face turning ashen. Little Yellow sat firmly on top of the hawk, pinning it to the floor. The bird had the speed advantage in the air, but down here, under hundreds of pounds of slime, it couldn't even twitch. "Squish that overgrown chicken," I muttered with a cold smile. Little Yellow might be kind-hearted, but he was pissed off from being poked earlier. He started wiggling his massive backside, grinding down with all his weight. The hawk let out muffled, agonized cries. It felt like its internal organs were being turned into paste. Being sat on by a giant slime was a literal nightmare. How? An F-rank slime can't have 2 active skills. Zheng Nan barked, his fists shaking. In a matter of seconds, the tables had turned. The hawk was bleeding out, crushed under the weight. The crowd was stunned into silence. "That slime is a total fraud," Wang Yu whispered. Everyone thought it was dying, but now it was full of energy. People always forget one thing about slimes. Their vitality is insane. Even if they take damage, they can keep going far longer than other beasts. As the saying goes, like master, like beast. I lost," Zheng Nan finally said, his voice weak and defeated. Seeing him admit defeat, Little Yellow hopped off the hawk, giving it space. Zheng Nan reached out to recall his beast, thinking I was letting him off easy. He thought that if the hawk got back in the air, he could still win. "Don't let it fly," Su Xiaoyi warned. I didn't need the reminder. I sent one final thought to Little Yellow. His large eyes snapped open, his body shuddered, and he turned into a golden blur. "Charge!" The hawk had only managed to hover half a meter off the ground when the golden projectile slammed into it. It didn't just hit the bird, it sent it flying. I didn't hold back. Even if the bird died, I didn't care. The hawk flew straight toward Zheng Nan. Thud, the master and the beast collided, tumbling across the arena floor for several meters before crashing into the dirt. "You lost," I said quietly. The hawk was outside the boundary. It was over. 3 skills. Why do you have 3 skills? Zhengnan coughed, clutching his chest. The physical pain was bad, but the shock was worse. An F-rank slime with 3 combat skills was unheard of. It defied all logic. Su Xiaoyu was covering her mouth, her eyes wide. Even her A-rank Firebird only had 2 skills at this level. Because I'm the yellow flash of Nanjiang High School, I joked, though nobody laughed. I recalled Little Yellow into the beast space and turned to leave with Su Xiaoyu. As we walked away, I saw Zheng Yi run toward his brother, looking worried. "Brother, are you okay?" Zheng Yi asked. "I'm fine," Zheng Nan rasped, his face pale. "Listen to me. I'm leaving this school soon. Don't ever provoke Lin Yuan again. He plays dirty, he's stronger than he looks, and he hides his true power. We can't beat him." Zheng Yi sighed, his spirit broken. He nodded slowly, finally giving up on his grudge. "Lin Yuan, is your slime really F-rank?" Su Xiaoyu asked, following me like a curious puppy. "It feels stronger than my Firebird." "Of course not," I said, keeping my face straight. "Actually, he's an SSS-rank beast called the Cosmic God-tier Blob." She rolled her eyes. "There's no such thing. Let me see his stat sheet." "I prefer to keep a low profile," I said solemnly. She pouted but didn't push it. Then she remembered something. "You're already a level 5 beast tamer. If you push a little harder, you might actually make it into the special training class." "We'll see," I nodded. With my current strength, I was easily in the top 20 of the grade. But there was only 1 week left, and I had a lot of work to do. As the final exams approached, the pressure in school reached a fever pitch. Everyone was doing whatever they could to boost their power, desperate to claw their way into the senior special training class. If I didn't make the cut, it would all come down to luck. Of course, with my current strength, I could probably ace the regular college entrance exams regardless, but the special class was where the real resources were. "You should really buy some beast orbs to train with," Su Xiaoyu said as we walked. "If you can hit level 6 before the deadline, you're guaranteed a spot." "I'll think about it," I replied vaguely. I knew my own limits. My natural talent for cultivation was mediocre at best. Sitting around meditating was a waste of time when my efficiency was this low. We parted ways, and I checked on Little Yellow. The battle against Zheng Nan had triggered a breakthrough. A new notification flashed in my mind. Little Yellow had unlocked a new passive talent, Thick Shell. It provided a moderate boost to defense, but the Real Kicker was the secondary effect. The defense bonus tripled whenever the slime was sleeping. For a creature that spent most of its life as a literal blob of jelly, it was the perfect fit. I made it back to the classroom just as a young teacher was droning on about biology. I couldn't believe we were still doing lectures this close to the end of the term. I slipped through the back door, trying to be a ghost, and headed for my seat. "Student? Excuse me, who are you?" The teacher turned around, catching me red-handed. I froze. Seriously? I was the protagonist of this story, yet I had zero presence in my own classroom? "Teacher, I'm in this class," I said, my brain working at lightning speed. "I just had a bit of a stomach situation. You know, the waterfall plunged 3,000 feet kind of situation. I was in the bathroom." The teacher gave me a look of pure exhaustion. "Just sit down." I spent the rest of the day bored out of my mind. I had already mastered the high school curriculum months ago. When the bell finally rang, I was the first one out the door. I sprinted over to the regular classes and found Zhou Xiaoming, my chubby friend I called Brother Pie. "I saw the way you handled Zheng Yi," Zhou Xiaoming said, running up to me with a grin. "Man, you're efficient." "That's just how I roll," I said, rubbing my hands together. "Listen, I'm coming to your house tonight. We need to talk business." I had just unlocked the recipe for the gigantification potion. Unlike the strength potion, this one only yielded 2 to 4 bottles per batch. If I refined it at the 666 pharmaceutical company, they'd take a massive cut of the profits. Besides, a high schooler mastering 2 complex formulas at once would draw way too much heat. I needed a private supply chain. Tonight, Zhou Xiaoming looked startled. "Isn't it a bit early to meet my parents?" I felt a vein pop in my forehead. "Watch your mouth before I slap you. I'm talking about your family's herb shop." "Oh, right," he chuckled nervously. "But we have evening study sessions tonight." I grabbed him by the collar and started dragging him toward the school gate. "Forget that. Tomorrow I'll have Zhang Dali tutor you. You'll be fine." "Wait, no? If Zhang Dali tutors me, I'll end up dead last in the grade." We headed to his family's shop, and the deal went smoother than I expected. Even though I didn't have an official alchemist license, money talked. His parents agreed to set aside specific ingredients for me, provided I paid a 20% markup over the market price. It was a steep fee, but it bought me anonymity. The next day, I skipped school entirely. I was a beast tamer student. Off-campus study was a perfectly valid excuse. I headed straight to the 666 pharmaceutical company and slipped into the lab. "Teacher Lin, you're here early," my assistant, Xiao Mao, said in surprise. I had some free time. "Do we have any force flowers in stock?" "We have 14. Do you want all of them?" "Bring them all." I nodded. The company usually only gave me 3 flowers a day to keep the market from being flooded, but I had missed a few days, so they had a backlog. I spent the entire day in a trance of focused alchemy. By sunset, I had processed all 14 flowers. I produced 78 bottles of low-grade strength potions. Per my contract, I handed over 70 bottles to the company. The rest? I had used the remaining flowers to craft high-grade versions, which I tucked away in my system space. Xiao Mao didn't even blink at my speed anymore. He just moved the crates to the warehouse. Once I left the building, I headed straight for the black market. I needed to liquidate my private stock to fund the ingredients for the new gigantification potions. I currently had 52 bottles of high-grade strength potions. I'd already fed 14 to little Yahello, but he'd developed a resistance to them. They wouldn't help him anymore. I found an empty spot on the sidewalk, laid out a cloth, and set up my stall. "Step right up. Freshly brewed, high-grade strength potions," I shouted, trying to channel my inner salesman. "Genuine goods. If it's fake, I'll pay you back 10 times the price." People walked by, giving me looks of pure disdain. I felt a sting of annoyance. I was an honors student, yet here I was being treated like a common con artist. "Kid, your pitch is terrible," the stall owner next to me said. "It's a real potion," I snapped, feeling defensive. "Yeah, right. Pay back 10 times the price." Nobody believes that. They think you'll just hand them 11 bottles of flavored water if they complain. I looked at the man and realized I recognized him. "Wait, aren't you the guy who sells mud?" The first time I came here with the real Zhang Dali, he had spent $10 on a literal clump of dirt from this guy. "It's not mud. It's Earth Dragon King essence," the man said with a straight face. "You want to learn some real techniques? I can show you how to pull in 3,000 a day." He pulled out a battered, ancient-looking book. The title read, "The Complete Collection of Black Market Scams, Collector's Edition." I stared at it, my eye twitching. "Are you serious? You wrote a book on scamming? And it's a collector's edition?" "Don't knock it," he said, nodding approvingly. "Your pitch is trash, but your acting is top tier. You almost look like you believe your own lies." I sighed, but then an idea hit me. "What do people call you?" "Old Wong. Everyone calls me that." "All right, Brother Wong. I need a favor." I leaned in close. "Can you find some people to crowd around my stall? Just to make it look busy." Old Wong looked at me, then rubbed his thumb and forefinger together. "I can get you a crowd, but talent isn't free. It'll cost you $100 per person," I said, feeling generous. "Just get them here. I'll give you another 1,000 once the job is done," I promised. Old Wong looked at me with pure skepticism. "Do you even have that much money?" I didn't waste words. I pulled out $500 and handed it to him as a deposit. "Here's 500. You get the rest when it's over. Just make sure you bring a big crowd." Old Wong's face lit up instantly. He tucked the cash into his pocket with a grin. 10 minutes later, he delivered. He showed up with a small army of people. Most of them were fellow stall owners, ordinary people who spent their days selling fakes. Even though the black market technically required you to be a level 5 beast tamer to enter, it wasn't hard for regulars to sneak in. "Little Chun, look at this. These are the elites of the black market," Old Wong said, puffing out his chest. I looked them over and nodded. They didn't need any training. These old pros knew exactly what to do. They swarmed my stall, surrounding it in layers until you couldn't even see the counter. "I want a bottle of mid-grade strength potion," one shouted. "Give me one." "No, give me 2. I traveled all the way from the city center for this." "Boss, wrap up 5 bottles for me." Their acting was flawless. It was Oscar tier. If I didn't know I'd hired them, I would have believed the hype myself. There was only one problem. They weren't actually pulling out any money. They were going through the motions, but their pockets were clearly as empty as their promises. I leaned against the stall, rubbing my temples. I couldn't blame them. If they actually had money, they wouldn't be working as shills for $100. I realized I needed a bigger spark. I gathered them close and whispered a new plan. They looked hesitant. "I don't know, kid. That's bad for my image," one said. "I, Wang Tianba, have lived an upright life," another added solemnly. "I don't do things like that, unless you add a little more money." I rolled my eyes. "Fine. 200 more for everyone." The change was instantaneous. It was like they'd been injected with adrenaline. "I'm taking all of these. Move aside. Who do you think you're talking to? Nobody messes with Wang Tianba in this market." The shouting turned into cursing, and the cursing turned into a full-blown brawl. A dozen people started throwing punches and rolling around on the ground. The chaos was magnetic. In a place like this, nothing draws a crowd faster than a fight. I was shocked by their dedication. They were scammers, sure, but their professional spirit was top-notch. "Break it up. Please, don't fight," I shouted, sounding like a panicked merchant. "There's enough for everyone. 8,000 yuan for mid-grade strength potion. Everyone can get one." I made sure to scream the price, 8,000, at the top of my lungs. Passers-by rushed over to pull the fighters apart. Wang Tianba was in the center of it, his face covered in blood, looking absolutely pathetic. He crawled toward my stall, coughing up a mouthful of red spit. I instinctively took a step back. Damn, is he actually dying for this? Then, I caught a whiff of something sweet. It was ketchup. "Give me one bottle of the genuine 8,000 yuan potion," Wang Tianba wheezed. Then his eyes rolled back, and he passed out cold. I twitched. This guy was a genius. "Are you okay? Someone help him," the other shills cried, lifting him up. Wang Tianba's body jerked one last time. "Quick, the potion," he mumbled incoherently. I signaled the others to drag him away before he overacted us into a police report. "Little Chun, I told you," Old Wang said, stepping forward to play his part as the concerned neighbor. "Selling mid-grade strength potion for only 8,000 is disrupting the market. You're practically giving it away." The crowd finally processed the price. Usually, mid-grade strength potion went for 10,000 on the street and 12,000 in the black market. "Is it fake?" a young guy asked, stepping closer. He looked like a student. I looked at him. "Are you from Nanjiang University?" The guy, Luo Yong, looked surprised. "How did you know? Are you a student there too?" I didn't answer. "Do you have your student ID? If you want to buy, I'll let you test it first." I trusted university students more than the average street rat. If he tried to scam me by lying about the results, I knew exactly where to find him. Luo Yong hesitated, then handed over his ID. "Nanjiang University, Class 982, Combat Department." I handed it back and cracked open a bottle, offering him a sample. Luo Yong summoned his contract beast, a half-meter-long blue-winged insect. Its wings were transparent and shimmering. It was a beautiful creature. He fed a few drops to the insect. A moment later, his eyes widened. "It's real. This is genuine mid-grade strength potion." That was all the crowd needed to hear. A combat student's word carried weight. "Only 8,000. Limited stock," I yelled. The frenzy started for real this time. Within minutes, every single bottle of mid-grade potion was gone. People even started snapping up the low-grade leftovers. By the time the dust settled, I had over 300,000 yuan in my bank account. I'd even given Luo Yong a discount, 3 bottles for 7,000 each, as a thank you for the assist. Old Wang stood to the side, mouth agape. He probably hadn't seen this much money move in a year. "Here's your cut, Brother Wang." I handed him his final 500. He took it, looking a bit dazed. I tracked down the shills next. I was feeling generous, so I gave everyone 300 yuan instead of the promised 2. For Wang Tianba, I handed over a full 1,000. "No, it's okay," Wang Tianba said, wiping the ketchup off his face. "It was just sauce. I didn't actually get hurt." "Take it," I insisted. I also made sure to add him on social media. In this world, talent is the most valuable resource, and a man who carries ketchup for a bit is a man I want on my team. I slipped out of the black market around 9 p.m., grabbed some barbecue on the way home, and slept like a king. The next morning, I headed straight to Zhou Xiaoming's family shop. I bought 5 giant fruits, the core ingredient for gigantification potions, along with a list of secondary herbs. Unlike strength potions, these were categorized differently: basic, black iron, and silver grade. I had the money, I had the skills, and now I had the ingredients. It was time to see just how big Little Yellow could get. Giant fruit was significantly more expensive than dahlia flowers. The market price for a single one was 30,000 yuan. I spent a total of 180,000 to clear out Zhou Xiaoming's entire family stock. It was a massive investment, but I didn't hesitate. I headed straight home with the goods. I spent the afternoon refining the ingredients and ended up with 20 bottles of body-size potion. Since I hadn't reached mastery level in alchemy yet, I didn't get any extra yield, but 20 bottles were still a gold mine. Most shops didn't even carry that much stock at once. If I sold them, each bottle would fetch around 30,000 yuan, but I had no intention of letting them go. My priority was Little Yellow. With the help of my system rewards and these potions, even an F-rank contract soul could become the strongest creature in existence. I started imagining the scene, my golden slime growing so massive it could crush a dragon just by sitting on it. I fed the potions to Little Yellow one by one. After 20 bottles, his body size increased by 15%. His current limit was 30%, which meant I needed another 20 bottles to max him out. Increasing a contract soul size by 30% would cost over 1 million yuan. Very few people could afford that kind of power. I reached out and patted Little Yellow. He opened his large eyes, looking at me with pure affection, and rubbed his head against my hand. Right now, he was about 1 meter wide. If I triggered his gigantification skill, he would swell to over 4 meters. In the upcoming freshman trials, he would be an absolute juggernaut. By noon, I was feeling hungry. I tucked Little Yellow away and headed out to a nearby diner. "Boss, give me the shredded pork with green peppers over rice. And a Coke," I ordered. As I was shoveling food into my mouth, a figure caught my eye outside the window. It was Wang Tung. He was tall, refined, and looked every bit the elite student. I called out to him, and he paused, looking into the shop. He recognized me and walked in. "I remember you. You're Xiaoyu's classmate, right?" Wang Tung asked. He sighed, his expression turning somber. "I heard about what happened in the black market with those wanted criminals. Thank you for saving him." "It was nothing," I said, waving my hand dismissively. Then I leaned in. "You sound so guilty. It wasn't you who hired those guys to jump him, was it?" Wang Tung looked like he was about to choke. He stared at me, completely stunned by the accusation. What kind of logic is that? Of course not. He took a breath to calm down. "Actually, I have a favor to ask. I want you to help me talk to Xiaoyu. If he joins my team, we're guaranteed a top ranking in next year's competition." Before I could respond, the system flashed in my vision. Option 1. Agree to help Wang Tung. Reward, 100,000 yuan. Option 2. Shake your head and ask, "Are you even worthy?" Reward, a dahlia flower. Option 3. Say seriously, "Anyone can lead. How about you and I team up instead?" Reward, 5% increase to all of Little Yellow's stats. Money was tempting, but stats were better. I shook my head at Wang Tung. "I can't convince Xiaoyu," I said. "But hey, how about you and I team up?" Wang Teng's face went pale, looking like he'd just swallowed a fly. "Are you serious? How do you even have the face to say that?" "What? If your strength meets my expectations, I wouldn't mind," I said cautiously. Wang Tung rubbed his temples, looking like he had a sudden migraine. You have a very unique sense of humor. Just think about the favor, okay?" He turned and stumbled out of the restaurant, looking like he needed to escape before I said anything else. I smiled. That simple choice just made Little Yellow 5% stronger. "Boss, check please," I called out. "That'll be 30 yuan, the owner said. I paused. "Wait, isn't the rice only 12 yuan?" "The rice is 12, the owner explained calmly. "The Coke is 18. I looked at the menu. Sure enough, the price was there, but the font for the drinks was about half the size of the food. I'd been played. I paid the money and mentally added this place to my blacklist. A few days passed quickly, and soon, it was time for the final exams. My teacher, Feng Ku, stood at the front of the room with a grim expression. "Today is the day," he announced. "I don't need to tell you how important this is. Everything depends on your performance." The bell rang, and the written portion began. For proctors watched over our small class of 25 students. Cheating was impossible. The exam covered 4 subjects: history, materials, geography, and biology. Each was worth 100 points, following the high school graduation standards. I flew through the papers. With my knowledge, these questions were a joke. I finished everything in record time. I was a genius, truly. As I sat there bored, the system popped up again. Option 1. Turn in the paper early to show off. Reward: a medium amount of soul power. Option 2. Sleep on the desk and wait for the end. Reward: a chaos potion. Option 3. Destroy the mental state of the other students. Reward: +1 to the RAM skill. In this world, skills were everything. I chose option 3. I took a deep breath, grabbed my exam paper, and let out a loud, aggressive crack as I flipped the page over. The sound echoed through the silent room, causing every single student to jump in their seats. I could feel the panic in the room. The air grew heavy. This exam was harder than anyone expected, designed specifically to weed out the weak for the senior year special training class. Flip, asterisk, the sound of pages turning became frequent. It seemed like everyone was moving to the back of the paper. In reality, only the top students had actually reached the second side. I leaned back, propping my head up with one hand while my other hand flipped the paper back and forth, over and over. I watched their faces. They looked miserable. A system notification flashed in my vision. My RAM skill had increased by 1 point. I blinked, surprised. These candidates had 0 mental fortitude. Just a little noise, and they were falling apart. My teacher, Fong Ku, marched over with a stern expression. He loomed over my desk. "If you don't know the answers, just sit there quietly," he hissed. "Stop flipping your paper. You're distracting everyone else." "Sorry, teacher," I said, rubbing my wrist. My hand just had a major cramp. "It's better now." I put my head down and pretended to sleep. I already had the reward, so there was no point in causing more trouble. Each subject took half a day. 2 days later, the written exams were finally over. Students huddled in the hallway, whispering nervously. "That was brutal," one boy groaned. "They're definitely trying to filter us out. I just hope I hit 320 points." "Forget the special training class," a girl replied. "That's out of our reach. I just don't want to fail too hard." I stood nearby, smiling but saying nothing. That's what top students do. Stay quiet and let the results do the talking. Fonka walked into the classroom and signaled for silence. "All right, stop discussing it. What's done is done. The focus now is the upcoming beast taming exam." He paused, his eyes sweeping the room. "The written portion is worth 400 points. Most of you will fall between 340 and 380. The gap isn't that big. But the beast taming exam is worth 350 points. Some will score less than 100. Others will hit 300. That is where the real separation happens." His gaze landed on me, sharp and wary. "During the final test, follow the rules. Don't imitate certain people." He clearly feared I'd pull another stunt. When school let out that afternoon, Zhang Dali was waiting for me outside. He looked like a man who had just been released from prison. "Summer break is finally here," he shouted. "Chinpai, are you seriously going to work for the next 2 months?" Since he was in the ordinary track, he didn't have to take the beast taming exam. He was officially free. "I have to," I said with a nod. "I'm broke. What about you?" "Gaming, obviously," he said as we walked toward the gates. "I'm going for the king rank in beast glory." "Oh, my mom is back. She wants you over for dinner tonight." I didn't even have to think about it. "I'm in. Who turns down a free meal?" Zhang Dali threw an arm over my shoulder. "Chinpai, I'm counting on you. When you get rich and famous, don't forget your old buddy." "Can you stop saying that?" I sighed. "You make it sound like I'm some kind of dog." We laughed our way back to our apartment complex. My parents were busy and wouldn't be home for dinner anyway, so we headed straight to his place. We dropped our bags and collapsed onto the sofa. I made myself at home. "The boys are back," a middle-aged woman said, walking out of the kitchen with a warm smile. This was Zhang Dali's mother, Shui Yuan. "Hello, Annie Shui," I said, standing up politely. Dali stayed slumped on the cushions. "Mom, where's Dad?" "In the study, buying things. Go see him if you want." "Nah," Dali muttered, eyes closed. "I won't understand any of it anyway." My interest peaked. Dolly's parents were both Iron Rank beast tamers. Whatever they were buying had to be related to the trade. I headed toward the study. Inside, Dolly's father, Zhang Feng, was staring intently at a computer screen. He gestured for me to sit. I looked at the monitor and nearly choked. Tianyuan ginseng, 300,000 yuan. Cloud Peak stone milk, 500,000 yuan per ounce. Level 2 gigantification fruit, 1 million yuan. Ice Wolf King Soul Core, 100,000 yuan. I swallowed hard. I knew my materials from class, but I had no idea they cost this much. I thought making a few strength potions would make me rich, but looking at these prices, I realized I was nowhere near the level of a high-tier tamer. Zhang Feng saw my expression and chuckled. These are Iron Rank resources, Xiao Chun. Only professional tamers use them, so they're pricey. Trainees aren't usually allowed to access this info yet. What website is this, Uncle Zhang? I asked. The Beast Tamer Association Network, he explained. It's a private site run by the state for trade and communication. Once you hit Iron Rank, you'll get an invite. I felt a pang of frustration. No wonder the local shops had such a poor selection. They only carried stuff for trainees. The real treasures were traded in a world I couldn't see yet. I watched him spend over 1 million yuan like it was nothing. If Iron Rank stuff was this expensive, how much did silver or gold rank materials cost? Let's eat, Zhang Feng said, stretching as he shut down the computer. My order should be here in 2 days. The four of us sat around the dinner table. The food smelled incredible. Xiao Chun, your beast taming exam is tomorrow, right? Annie Shue asked. If you have a chance to enter the special training class, take it. Don't let it slip away. You know about the class, Auntie? Of course, Zhang Feng teased. Your auntie was in the very first special training class at number 2 high. Almost every student who gets into a top-tier university comes from those classes, she explained. The resources they provide will push your strength to a whole new level. It's the same all over the country. Families will go into debt just to get their kids into one. In my old world, senior year was a grind for grades. Here, it was a battle for survival and status. I'll do my best, I said, raising my glass to them. Everything depends on luck now. To be honest, I didn't care that much about the special training class. If I made it, great. If not, it wasn't the end of the world. I had the system, and that was my real edge. Mom, Dad, why don't you guys care about my grades? Zhang Dolly piped up, looking genuinely offended. I'm your son. My final exams are over, and you haven't asked a single thing. His father, Zhang Feng, didn't even look up. Your grades are always stable. What's there to ask? Unless, did you actually manage to beat the kid in second to last place this time? Well, no, Dolly admitted. I just wanted you to ask. Zhang Feng shook his head and laughed. Forget it. When it comes to disappointing me, you never disappoint. Dolly suddenly remembered something. He straightened his posture. Anyway, I'm almost 18. I want to live alone. I want to experience independence. Zhang Feng's eyes widened. He looked at his son like he was seeing a stranger. You actually have that kind of ambition? Of course. I am your son, after all, Dolly said, proudly slapping his chest. In fact, I've already packed your bags. You guys can move out whenever you're ready. The table went dead silent. Uncle Chun tried to hold it in, but he ended up bursting into laughter. You little brat. Your skin is itching for a beating, isn't it? Zhang Feng growled. Suddenly, a dark blur flickered in the room. Bang! Something hit Dolly right on the head. Ow! Dad! Dolly yelped, clutching his skull. Who uses their contracted beast to hit their own son? I looked closer. A small black ape, about 30 centimeters tall, was perched nearby. It was Zhang Feng's beast. Just giving you a memory boost, Zhang Feng said, recalling the creature. Andy Shue just sat there, smiling silently. I recognized that ape from my biology textbooks. Zhang Feng was an Iron Rank beast tamer. His beast had already undergone a bloodline evolution, transforming from a power monkey into a violent monkey. Its potential had jumped from C rank to B rank. That was the harsh reality of this world. My slime, Little Yellow, was F rank. Even if I reached Iron Rank and it evolved normally, it would only hit E rank. The gap between us would always exist because everyone else was evolving too. Unless I found a rare evolution path to skyrocket its potential, I was stuck at the bottom. In this world, talent mattered way more than hard work. Unless, of course, You had a cheat code. After a warm family dinner, I headed home and crashed, mentally preparing for the exam. The next morning, Nanjiang number 2 high was quiet. Only the beast-taming students were left. Everyone else had already started their summer break. Our teacher, Fong Ku, walked in with a serious face. "Today's exam is vital," he said. "Give it everything you've got." He led Class 5 to the beast-taming arena. Long lines of students were already stretching out the door. Over 200 of us waited in silence. When we finally entered, I was struck by the sheer size of the place. It had massive combat rings and 3 separate testing zones for each grade level. The Year 2 exam followed 5 standard phases. The grade dean stood before us to announce the rules. First up, potential rating. The school already had our beast ratings on file, but we could appeal if there was a change. To do that, you had to share your beast status panel publicly. Su Xiaoyu, potential rating, A. Tang Lai, potential rating, A. Lin Xingchen, potential rating, B. There were only 2 A ranks in the entire grade. I was also a rarity, but for the wrong reason. I was the only F rank standing there. Most F rank students usually dropped out to live normal lives rather than drag their families into debt. No objections? Good, the dean said, closing the list. Phase 2, Beast Tamer level. We lined up by class. This was simple. We just had to sync our status panels with the proctor's device. Su Xiaoyu, level 7. Tang Lai, level 6. Class 1 was impressive. Even their weakest student was level 5. Then it was our turn. Xiaobing, our class rep, went first. Xiaobing, level 6. The proctor looked surprised. A murmur went through the crowd. Xiaobing used to be a top student in class 1. The only reason she moved to class 5 was because her family couldn't afford the higher tuition and resources of the elite class. Now, it was obvious she was headed straight for the special training class. Then came our class monitor, Wang Meng. Level 4. He looked devastated. He hadn't broken through in time. His chances for the special training class were dead. Li Zixuan, level 4. Zhang Yu, level 3. Most of class 5 were level 3s. A level 4 was rare for us. Fong Ke watched from the sidelines, looking satisfied enough. Xiaobing's level 6 was a huge win for him. "Teacher Fong," the proctor called out, frowning at his tablet. "Isn't there one more student in your class?" Fong Ke blinked. He scanned our group, and his face suddenly went pale. "Wait, where the hell is Qin Shu?" He looked left and right, panicked. He knew he'd brought me into the arena. How does a student just vanish during a final exam? Just then, the heavy doors of the testing hall creaked open. 2 people walked in. One was Director Wu, the Year 1 dean. The other was me. Director Wu looked completely exhausted. He nudged me forward and looked at Fong Ke. "Is this one of yours?" Fong Ke stared at me, his jaw dropping. "What happened?" Director Wu sighed, sounding like he'd aged 10 years. "I found him wandering around the Year 1 testing area trying to sell exam insurance to the freshmen." Director Wu looked genuinely angry. He told the proctor that I hadn't just been wandering. I'd actually stood in the middle of the Year 1 testing area and announced that I wasn't targeting any specific person. I was just there to say that everyone in the room was trash. My homeroom teacher, Fong Ke, felt his forehead break out in a cold sweat. He stepped forward quickly to reclaim me, offering apology after apology to Director Wu. Director Liu, the head of our sophomore year, gave me a sharp glare before trying to smooth things over with the dean. He laughed it off as a student prank, though he warned me that being this arrogant at such a young age was a dangerous path. Still, he noted that my talent must be decent if I was in class 1. Fong Ke just shook his head. He knew I wasn't in class 1. He looked at me, exasperated, and asked how I managed to get lost and end up at the freshman exams. Honestly, even I was surprised. I had just been following the line and somehow drifted off. No wonder I didn't recognize a single face there. "All right, last student. Step up," Director Liu said, his voice dripping with annoyance. I walked up to the proctor and shared my Beast Tamer interface. The screen displayed my basic info, potential rating F. Owner, Qin Shu, level 5 Beast Tamer. I made sure to hide Little Yellow's specific skills and talents, especially the new ones. Qin Shu, level 5. The proctor's voice jumped an octave. The room went silent. A level 5 in class 5 was unheard of. Director Lu's expression softened instantly. To him, I was a hidden gem, a top-tier student. But my classmates? They looked like they had collectively lost their minds. Their jaws dropped so low they could have applied for disability benefits. You're level 5? Fonka stammered. He looked like his brain had short-circuited. The class deadbeat was suddenly one of the strongest students in the grade. Right then, 3 options flashed in my vision. Option 1. Stay quiet and stay low. Reward. Strength Potion Proficiency Boost. Option 2. Cyan Act Cool. Reward. Collision Skill +1. Option 3. Play dumb and pretend I thought I was still level 1. Reward. Level 1 Gigantification Fruit. I didn't need the fruit, and the proficiency boost was too vague. I chose option 2. I stepped to the front of the crowd, tilted my head back at a 45-degree angle, and stared mournfully at the ceiling. I let out a long, heavy sigh. I tried so hard to suppress my growth. I lamented, my voice full of fake sorrow. I didn't want to surpass you all so quickly. I hate myself for being so talented that I can't even hide it. I clenched my fists, looking like I was on the verge of tears from the guilt of being too good. The entire arena stared at me in stunned silence. The students from other classes looked at me like I was a new species of monster. I solemnly apologized to everyone. I added, beating my chest. My heart is heavy with regret. Enough. That's enough. Director Lu snapped. He couldn't listen to another word. What do you mean suppress your talent? If you actually tried, would you be heading straight for the Capital Academy? And stop apologizing. Nobody asked for that. You're just being a jerk now. He quickly moved us to the next phase of the exam before I could say anything else. Even though my slime had an F-rank potential, my level 5 status put me in the top 40 students of the entire year. Next is the combat power test, Director Lu announced. Several teachers pushed a massive yellow sphere into the center of the hall. Wires ran from the ball to a giant LED screen. The rules were simple. Each beast had 5 seconds to deal as much damage as possible. An algorithm would calculate the intensity and give a grade. Su Xiaoyu went first. As the top student, everyone watched with bated breath. He summoned his A-rank Firebird. The creature let out a piercing cry, its wings spreading wide. Attack, Su Xiaoyu commanded. The bird's talons glowed with a fierce red light. Its signature skill, Flame Claw. It slammed into the yellow sphere with a deafening boom. The screen flickered and then displayed a massive letter, A. Impressive, Director Lu whispered, nodding. A true candidate for the elite universities. After that, the hall turned into a chaotic zoo. Roars, howls, and screeching filled the air as one student after another sent their beasts to strike the sphere. The grades flashed rapidly. B, F, C, D. It was finally my turn to show them what a level 5 trash slime could really do.